You don't want to leave people stranded. If we're going to do this, because somebody's going to have to always be there. Yeah. You know, one of us would have to always be there because it was a different.
At the time, all of us started training pretty much together.
You know, you were one of the first, you know, just to start training some of the lifts somewhere else. And your deadlift, you know, went through it went like 100 pounds
for me.
What you said, because there's a perception, you know, that crew that we're in, that time that we're in, that, you know, we're just all thugs. It's time to sit down, keep it real, and cut the bullshit. Welcome to Table Talk. Today I got Todd Brock, Chuck Vogelpohl, Kenny Patterson, and Joe McCoy. We're gonna talk about our time at Westside Barbell. I'll start this off by saying that all these guys were there before me, you know, so I'll just lead in with how I came into Westside, and then we'll just kind of go from there, like what you guys were doing before and all that. Before my, I was competing for 6, 7, 8 years or whatever before coming to Westside. Louie always helped me out in warm-up rooms. I'm not going to relive that. I've told the story a million fucking times before. I remember one of the Toledo meets. I think Todd was lifting, Chuck was lifting. I don't think you guys were lifting. And it was Toledo Hall of Fame meet. And I was competing against Florio, which is kind of a big thing for me because Florio helped me out too when I was younger. And I beat him, but he beat me because he weighed less, which it was kind of fucked up, right? Because you win your class, but yet you lose best lifter because. But Louie then started saying, look, what are you going to do after you graduate? You're going to come to Columbus. Then Louie would call me a few times and I'd make a trip down. The first time I came down was a little fucked up, right? Because it was when it was the Demorest gym by the bingo hall. I told you guys about it earlier. I come in, the guys that were training there weren't the guys that I thought were supposed to be training there. And then, so I made a couple weekends down. And then after tearing my pec, when I came into Westside was right when you guys moved the gym from bingo hall to boxer in the basement, which was Sullivan, right? Because I was locked in a sling, so I had to train at M&M gyms, Matt's gym, for the machine shit because I couldn't use my arm because it was locked down. And then the other days I'd be in there helping you guys with that. So I came in the boxer in the gym basement's really kind of where it all started. You guys were there beforehand. All you guys were there beforehand. So I know Chuck was first. You came in.
He was on Briggs.
Well, he's in Louie's garage, right?
No.
So Briggs.
Right afterwards, when they first turned it over. So the second week that it opened up is when I went over.
Yeah.
The first week they had a bench press meet from the YMCA, and myself and Jimmy Ritchie actually done it. And Louie invited us over from then.
So Jimmy was part of it. That West Side at Briggs too?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's going way back.
He come over kind of like with me.
Yeah.
At the time, all of us started training pretty much together.
And then when did you come in? Yeah.
When I was on Briggs.
Yeah, so about the same time.
Yeah, literally like the first week because we went to Briggs High School. Chuck graduated before me.
Yeah.
And I was on my way home from football conditioning, and they were moving stuff into the gym.
Yeah.
And so I stopped in, and they said, "Come back next week; it'll be open." So.
What year was that?
1988.
1988.
No, 87. Sorry.
87.
So were you coming at Briggs or did you come in at the bingo hall?
Briggs. I come into Briggs. I come in 1990. November of 1990.
I just trained like a couple times at Briggs, but it was primarily the bingo hall. Yeah.
But the bingo hall looked like it was, I can't speak about that, right? Because I trained there like once. That looked like it was weird, right? Because it was commercial.
Yes.
And then you had a wall.
Yeah, the back room.
Right? Because the only time I come, like the power racks would have like caution tape, you know, so people couldn't use them.
Yes.
You know, so when you guys trained there, was the group kind of like it was on Demorest, or was it just, how did that work?
It was still sectioned off like that.
Yeah,
you know
Friday nights and Sunday mornings. Of course, Sunday mornings on Van Horns, but I think during the week, like on Wednesdays and Mondays, was still, you had groups, but the groups were kind of spotted.
Yeah, I would come over after, I was in high school, come over with a couple of buddies I brought with me, and it was always, don't go in the back room.
Yeah.
Don't go in. Louie's here, don't go in the back room. And of course, I'm like, okay, I'm a kid from Gahanna. I'm on the west side of Columbus, and, we drove all the way across town thinking it was the best thing ever. I'd been in powerlifting a while, as a teenager. But it wasn't until, Louie, I don't know if he was still working when it was on Briggs, but he wasn't around much. He wasn't around often. But, if we were there at 5 or 6 o'clock, he'd come in, I believe, after he got off work. And that's when he started to mentor and
So back then it was like the goal was to be like invited to the back room.
Yes.
For sure.
Kind of like the mafia coming into the back room.
Yeah, that's the way it was at the first place too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was totally separated. You had to be on the team to be in the back room.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the way it was before, you know,
Yeah.
on both sides of it.
I was tested. I had a friend of mine that was real good friends with Louie, and he allowed me to come over there. But on Friday nights, it was more of a let's see what you got type thing. I had to squat down to a milk crate constantly every Friday night, and we had to go max out. It was just continuous. And hell, I put like 80 pounds on my squat in like 8 weeks. So he's like, yeah, you can become part of the gym. Now you can start benching with us on Sunday.
Yeah.
So meet us for breakfast. So that was kind of my introduction to that.
So something had to happen, obviously, where he just got fed up with the commercial gym, because when he went to the boxer in the basement, it's like, you know, when it was like, this shit's going to Matt, I ain't dealing with this anymore. And then that was Sullivan, right?
Yeah, Sullivan and Whitethorn.
Sullivan went.
Yeah, that place was.
Him and Tom Storm were partners.
That's right.
Oh, were
Louie.
they?
And when they split up, then Louie took the weights and stuff and went that way, and Tom went wherever. Don't know.
All right, so that's what it was, right?
I didn't know that.
Okay. Yeah, because the only thing I remember about that Sullivan place was the reason I keep saying boxer in the basement is because there was a hole. I mean, there's a fucking hole in the floor, right? So you had to,
forward.
Yeah, you had to like watch out. And one of the days I was the first guy in there, and I'm turning the lights on, and some fucking dude come out. And I'm like,
Yeah.
the fuck is this? You know,
Taking
like,
his
who are
bird.
you? You know, and like I'm like, what the hell am I gonna do?
Yeah.
And then Louie come in and say, no, he lives in the basement. And he was a boxer, and so it's just.
He'd go into the bathroom with that big basin sink
Yes.
there and take a bird bath.
Louis be like, "That's it, you're done. I'm kicking you out."
Yeah, yeah.
He'd always taking a shower because we'd be getting there in the morning, like 8 in the morning, and here's this dude taking a shower in the bird bath. And then I remember Louis finally kicking him out because he was. But
How long was we even in that gym, though?
It wasn't long.
I
Not
swear it was
long.
like 6 months or something.
Yeah,
That was
6
like a
months.
short
Yeah, it was
year.
less than a year.
Yeah, it was definitely less than a year.
Then we upgraded to 800 square foot.
Yeah, but it was way
Yeah,
that,
that
was way
place
better.
was
Yeah,
a
yeah.
fucking dump, and it was
Oh,
like a
shithole.
pottery. Like there was a business in front of it, right? And we kept breaking their shit. Like they had like clay figurines or some shit, and every time we deadlift, shit would come off the shelf and break.
You remember the floor? The floor is completely lopsided.
Yep.
Yeah.
We could only put the deadlift on the opposite side. So if there's an angle like this, we had to have the bar on this angle. So one leg was short and one leg was long.
Yeah.
On everything we did. If not, it would roll right to the other side of the room.
Yeah.
Steep. And remember, the whole floor would boom. The whole floor would come down. Boom, boom. We think we'd go through the basement.
Yeah. Some of my most vivid memories of that have nothing to do with that deal because we didn't have a monolift.
Right.
So if we were, dynamic work, you're going back to back, and I'm squatting with Louie, and he's a fucking midget. And I had to take it out on his, I know, but I had to take it out on his rack height, right? And that sucked, man. And it was my fault because my back was weak, because I would bitch and say, this is bullshit. Like, I got to lift it. You're doing a good morning to get it out. Yeah. But it was, you're bigger, you're weak, you're back. And he's probably right, and that was the one thing that used to drive me crazy. The other one was Mike Francis used to come in. You used to like bust his ass, train at lats. I had to squat one time with him back to back, and that was kind of brutal, right? Because the guys that were in there, the power lifters, like, don't let this fucking bodybuilder beat you. And this dude couldn't. Oh my god,
Monster.
like 15 sets in of this, and I'm like,
You can't help looking at him.
my
and going,
lower back is trashed. I'm just like,
he just grew. This guy's growing in front of us. It's like the
He
whole.
was a monster.
Huge.
yeah.
I just remember Louis told him, "You want to get big? You got to wear a weight vest." Remember? he said, "Whenever you're at home, have 25 pound." And he had put that weight vest he had that would make him lean over. And here you got that Mike Francois with 20 monsters dude with 25-pound plate
It wasn't
walking
even
around.
a
I'm
weight
like,
vest, man. It was like a denim shirt with
It
a
was-
pocket
yes.
that you put a 25
It was
pound
like
plate in.
It was a backpack on reverse.
Exactly.
He was like, "It's what you need." I'm like,
Yeah.
"That guy's 240 pounds of muscle." I'll never forget that.
How did the Van Horn thing come about? Like, why was that?
Space.
Yeah.
I remember it was more about space because on Sunday mornings, because that was only 800 square feet, and you had basically 2 benches, if I remember.
Yeah.
But that was happening before going to that gym, right?
No, we started going to Van Horn's when we moved on to Demorest into the 800
right.
square foot.
I think
Yeah.
so.
We didn't go out there
I
before
can't
that.
remember.
We had too many people
There was
in the
too many
back, so
people.
some had to be out front. Louis went.
Yeah,
too
you're
far
right. You're
together.
right.
So, and we had 3 benches that went at Van Horn's.
Yeah.
Then the B team.
Yeah.
Not disrespectful, but they
No, I
were
get
training
it.
at the other ones.
At the other
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, when I came in, I was 270, just a giant fucking zit,
I
you know,
remember
with a mullet,
Yeah,
you know, and it was weird for me because I liked the atmosphere, right? Because it's what I was looking for, and everybody was stronger than me, which is what I was looking for. And that's why I was so confused when I came in that one time, and it was like, you know, like you said, the B crew. That wasn't even the B crew. It was like a D crew. Yeah. And it was like, what the fuck, you know? And just the mindset, you know, was you were expected, you know, to do more. Yeah. You know, which was awesome to be around. It was also humbling, you know, because I was big fish in, you know, little pond, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh fuck, I'm not even on the big bench. I'm like on the middle bench. Yeah. And Louie was also like, man, you can't go out there until you bench 500. I'm like, I already have. It didn't count. I didn't do it here. Mm-hmm. Like, you can't do this until you get an elite total. Like, I got 3 of them, but you didn't do it here. You know, you couldn't get on the stupid list, which I say stupid now, but I mean, it was a big ass thing until you did it when you were there, you know, which was a driving type of force with that as well. With the boxer and it's boxer in the basement, right? So it's 6 months, a year. Then it was going over to what I know as, that's what I see as Westside, right?
And black glass.
Painted black or whatever you want to call it. And that was 10 years maybe. You know, I mean, it's, if I'm trying to think of the people that moved into there that were still there when it went to Industrial Drive, it's probably Chuck, myself, Amy, and
Kenny.
Maybe. You know, he might have been out a little before that.
Yeah, I never trained at the one on the Industrial Drive.
Yeah.
I think I think I was going just before that.
Right before.
You talking about the big storage unit place?
Yeah. Valley View.
Yeah.
When I came back the second time, I trained there for, I don't know, 2 years or something.
Yeah. So that's when the Westside I remember is that Demorest location, right? That's where all the stories and shit are. Where I think there's a lot of funny ass stories that are out there, and there's a lot of stories that I think are a little bit misrepresented. You know, where, you know, there were a handful of thugs, but not everybody. And there was a thug. You know, to me, most of the people in there were like working, come in, train, and then go back to work. You know,
for sure.
I mean, your ass wouldn't even. You would come in, do one exercise, and just vanish. Mm-hmm. Be like, the fuck, where'd Joe go? Yeah. You know, like every max effort bench day, it seemed like. You know, he'd bash a floor press PR by 30 pounds. And then, where'd he go?
Had to go.
Had to go.
I didn't have that lifestyle.
Had to go to work.
Yeah, that's right.
And
loss prevention and shot and scene.
There you go, baby. Shot and scene. Had to do it.
Where through that time, there were a lot of things that Louie kind of brought in, where actually they started to come in during, you know, I made a list of things, an article I wrote years ago of the things that I saw come into and out of Westside, just stupid shit. Like when I first came in that first gym, the max effort rotation was pin presses, overhead pin presses, close grip inclines. I don't even think we're floor pressing yet.
No, I think that came about with Jesse Kellum.
Yeah. But it was only 3 different things. Yep. You know, like Wednesday would either be a fucking pin press, which you know, I don't think anybody really liked the pin press that much.
Kenny did.
Kenny did.
It's a 2-inch press for Kenny, but 12 inches for everybody else. So.
Yeah. And that was it. You know, then the boards
Don't hate on me.
Yeah. And then the boards came and floors and stuff like that.
Weight releasers.
Yeah.
Well, try to be a weight releaser, whatever you consider it.
Well, Van Horn made whatever that contraption was. The weight releasers.
Made everything for Louie back then.
Mm-hmm. What are some of the things that you guys saw that you remember coming in, you know, at any point in time?
Obviously, chains and bands were
big time. Yeah.
Board press, floor press. I mean, I guess those all revolve around the bench. I mean, was there any other like squat exercise? I mean,
well, fucking Chuck would come up with all kinds of shit that would just be hard.
Well, that was on the fly though too. Like,
there's different stages at different times. You know what I mean? Back when we all of us, we never changed from Louie's little program pretty much, with the exception of saying that you're going to do 70% and everybody works up and end up taking a weight about every week. You know, challenging one another.
Right.
And you would spend like an hour making a movement up. You know, setting the damn thing up.
I try.
You know, where it was, most of the, say, Mondays were good. I mean, this was true with you before, right? Was it good morning? Was it the same shit before I got there? So like 70% of every Monday was some kind of fucking good morning, and then a squat and a deadlift.
That was maximum effort every Monday.
Yeah.
But it ended up being 2 maximum efforts every week because squats turned into a maximum effort.
Yeah, it turned into
and then 2
competition.
days later, then we're back into
Pulling
it again.
again,
So you know what I mean? And bets are made and everything else at that point. You know, teams are involved and everything else. You know, so it got pretty wild there.
I go back and forth with that because I don't know if it helped or hurt, right? Because we didn't really have a lot of weight on our back for the actual squat, right? That was one of the things that was different for me because I came from the linear program where you're putting suits and wraps and all this kind of shit on. And then I come into Westside and it's like you're not putting anything on except briefs.
Right.
Until the day of the meet.
Well, even the briefs, it was, I mean, for a long time, it was no briefs. Then you would use the briefs a little bit before the meet. You know, bench shirt, not until you go to the meet. You know, squat suit, wraps, and never fucking right. Nothing was not until the meet. Yep. And it fucked me all up. Like the first year and a half, 2 years, I almost got thrown out because I would come in the afternoon with Waddle and Jerry because of work, but also to kind of avoid that. Right. You know, it's like I can't go to a meet and not have fucking gear on.
You know, I think everybody did that.
Yeah.
I know I did it several times. You know what I mean? Because I had to get used to the gear. I knew it changes form. You know what I mean? 90% of your forms changed when you put gear on.
And there towards the end of my career is when those canvas suits came into play and stuff. I mean, trying to figure that out. I mean, are you kidding me? I mean, that's a whole different.
Yeah, I don't claim to be a big squatter, but when my squat went up, when I squatted 881, that's when I started training up in Cleveland because we would do that. Like it was kind of the same thought process, but it was adding equipment as the weights went up. So you got accustomed to the equipment and you weren't like in La La Land trying to figure out how to sit back against a canvas suit or whatever.
Just perfecting your technique.
Yeah. Because it is totally different.
Yeah, we never did. It was always no.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, we worked up though, because we get in these pissing contests like Chuck's talking about where, it feels good on a Friday. It doesn't matter. Somebody's going to feel good.
Oh, yeah.
Then after your 8 sets, like throw a quarter on. And you
But
can't.
remember this. We never ever did free squats.
Never.
I know that.
It was only box till you went to a meet, and then all of a sudden you're just thrown in there.
Yeah.
So that's where things started to change. I had to get things changed at that point. So, and Kenny he took off before I did, and they were making change over in the other. But once we got to those other suits, I had to make change because the whole structure of the squat completely changed at that point.
More upright.
Yeah, more upright.
Yep.
That was something that, like I said, it fucked me up. Where it's there was one meet. It was after I think it might have been the first meet that I did after getting there, and it didn't go well. Right, so I bloated. It's the one I made meet. I had to lose like 10 pounds, and for me, I don't cut weight. Right,
a whole 10,
a whole 10 pounds. Right. I mean, to me, it was like a big fucking deal. Right, I'm like all nervous and shit because I always had to gain weight into my class. Right,
Chuck loses 38 pounds.
Yeah, you're busting my. Everybody's making fun of me because I'm like freaking out about fucking 10 pounds. Then I make it and gain like 32 pounds.
Was that Chicago?
You couldn't get back in your suit.
It was ridiculous,
Yeah.
and so my squat was a mess but at the same time, I didn't know. What I'm saying, you don't put your gear on. So I didn't know my suit wasn't going to fit. Then my bench shirt didn't fit at all. I mean,
He did win that contest that weekend, though.
I didn't
gaining
win
the
shit.
most weight.
Well, that I did, but I pulled out. I pulled out of the bench
In
right?
24 hours. I gained the most weight in 24 hours.
I pulled out of the bench because I couldn't get the shirt on. I learned a real valuable lesson. You don't pull out of meets if you're a Westside Barbell. Because at dinner that night, you're sitting at a fucking table making these choking sounds. And I'm madder than fuck, man. I'm like, and it didn't stop. It was a whole fucking, and so that never happened again after that,
Do it raw.
Joe must not have been.
I know. I learned, man. I learned after that. You dropped.
He wouldn't let up.
Yeah, because Joe wouldn't let anyone go. That was.
No, I mean, it was he was
brutal.
That was the best. It was good and bad. He pissed me off one time because he took a half-inch board, on the squat, which is looking back, it's not.
It's not even a half inch, 7/16.
It's not even a half inch.
And it's been compressed for 14 years because the boards were all old and frayed.
He come back and pull that thing out.
Collapsed.
You thought I would got buried, from that, but then he so fast he go bumping away, running away. After that, that was one. But his mouth, man.
Yeah.
Holy fuck! And if it was a high box squat day with a manta ray. We're all fucked. We're all fucked.
Yeah, Joe ruled that one.
The manta ray. Put that way up on your neck.
Yeah, I forgot about that too.
Yep.
Yeah.
How can you? He's like doing like 860, 900.
Well, that's how he squatted though. He was like
was-
perfectly straight up.
That
and
was
down.
always easy.
The funny thing is that back then a high box, like a high box for us was what, 18?
17.
It's like
17.
2
I
inches
remember
above
7.
parallel. Yeah.
Like 17, 18 inches, where nowadays that's like a normal box.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it is. If you measure it, you know, what's a normal box that most people are using?
Yeah.
You know, that was high. The regular box, the one that you pulled out, I went to 14 and a half. And it was like, nah, you don't do that shit. You go 14, you know, or 12.
Yes.
You
I
know
remember
that.
we used to go down to them low ones, those 10s and something ridiculous.
Yeah,
Yes.
that was.
And we squatted real wide.
Right.
So, yeah.
Which for me was called parallel.
There you go.
Yeah. Exactly. With you had a Worlds before, right? 'Cause I
Worlds
was-
before I come to Westside?
Yeah.
So, yeah, that was in 1990. I was getting ready I'd already won nationals as a teenager, 17 years old, and I qualified for the Worlds in Italy.
Mm-hmm.
And so I go over there and I meet Doug Heath.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, the character he is.
Oh, yeah.
This is where you need to be. Ah! So I met Doris and Mariah and that whole crew, you know, and so that's what kind of led me over to Westside. Prior to that, I had a couple funny stories. So first time I ever met Kenny, we were 13 or 14. We're little punk kids. I don't know. We were 148, 132? 148. And I think we both benched like 220, something like that. So I had met him. And then were you at Westside then?
Yeah.
Okay, so he's at Westside, and I think he told me a little story or whatever, but I just go back to Gahanna. My uncle was writing all my training or whatever, programming. And then when we're 17, we meet back up. Here comes walking through the door. Remember Brian Bosworth with that big mohawk?
No.
Long hair, and it was all colored, and it had the layers in it. I mean, this guy.
Oh, he had the colored long shit like
Oh,
that?
yes.
yeah.
No, his hair was down to here. I mean, he was,
Now,
you know what I mean?
let's be honest about who did my hair, though. Chuck's wife did my
Oh,
hair.
my gosh. It was the worst.
Yeah.
So then we get to the competition.
Best stylist in Columbus.
So the best part is we get to the contest. I don't know, 475 or we were 165 or something like that. And he gets a high squat and he beats me. I mean, I still have it on video. I mean,
Watches it daily, too.
I mean,
Yeah.
completely. And then the bench shirt he wore was one of the first Enzers.
With
and it
the
was
sparkles.
Doris's with sparkles.
Oh,
Yeah.
That was that denim material. It was like...
Was that Enzer or France?
No, it's France.
France. I'm sorry,
France,
France.
yeah.
France.
Yeah, France.
I meant France. Yeah, it had sparkles. It was Doris's bench shirt he was
Nice.
wearing. So then,
I can't imagine you that small.
I was huge.
Yeah, I bet.
it's hilarious. What'd you bench, like 330,
Yeah, like
15,
Something-
something
three-
like
yeah.
that? Yep. So then the first day at Westside, so I get my boys and we come from Gahanna, right? And here comes walking through the front door. Here's Kenny P. He's got the long hair. He's got an LA Raiders leather coat.
starter coat,
Hold on.
starter
Hold on.
jacket.
Oh, no.
Two pagers on both sides, bang bang. And then we're talking
I had
to
to
him.
be able to get contact.
Yes.
You
He
can't
walking
forget the
in-
Jordans, though. He had Jordans,
Oh,
too.
he's walking in like, I mean, he
curve
literally,
fillers.
he might.
No, I didn't have the curve feeling.
Hold on, he might own Columbus. Hold on, I'm getting to the car. I'm getting to the car. So then we're talking to him. I mean, he's the baddest guy. I'm this.
Let's get this shit
Hold
out of the
on.
way early so,
I'm
so
this-
we can talk about something.
Hold on,
else.
I'm this little kid from Gahanna, right? And I mean, this guy's somebody. He comes in. I mean, he's walking. He's doing the part. We work out or we go outside. He pulls up, and what year was that at Condo Court?
86.
86. It was like lowered, and on the bumper it said the one and only Kenny P.
See,
That was my first
remember-
experience.
I remember the band.
The
That's
band.
all I
Oh,
remember,
yeah,
'cause we
yeah.
had to go
Astro
out-
band?
Yeah, because I used to go out to Van Hor's and Louie's Trooper,
Yeah,
right?
season
Oh, that was dangerous.
Like twice. I'm like, I'm not doing this.
You got in
again.
it a second time?
No, yeah. I mean, because he come off that off ramp, fucking
Yep.
tires
On
are
3
going-
wheels.
I'm like, I ain't doing that, you know. So then it was like in the back of your van, which was just like a pimp van or some shit.
Yeah. It
all the
was.
speakers.
Remember how big them speakers were?
Oh my god!
The whole wall.
Yeah.
Yeah. It only had 2 captain's chairs in it. Then it had a wall with 4 15s in it. Mm-hmm. So just 2 people were comfortable. The third one was screwed, but
Yeah. I got a good story about Louie in the car situation because he had that Trooper, right? Piece of crap. It had all that butcher's hair. It was about 6
Oh,
inches
yes.
deep, and you get in there and smack it and butcher all hair all over you or whatever. So I wanted to go to this. I don't know what meet it was. It was in Peoria,
Illinois.
Illinois. It was in Peoria, and He's like, yeah, I'll go. Yeah, car won't make it, but I'll go. And I'm like, well, let me ask my mom if we can borrow our car. So I go home, I'm like, hey, Mom, this guy, Louie, my parents were the best. I mean, they just let me, if they only knew, right? But they just let me hang out on the west side with these guys. I don't know how old Louie was, how old he had to be then. 1991,
40 something?
Okay, he's 45 years old, this bald-headed guy, big, crazy. Mom, can we borrow your car to go to Illinois? And my mom's like, well, yeah. I'll never forget, we pull up, and Louie's like, I'm driving. It was a 6-speed Beretta. And I'm telling you what, I am driving across Indiana, Illinois. He's going 100 miles an hour. Me and Mark Borda's in the front seat. I'm in the back seat. I mean, we're flying. I'm just like, now that you look back on it, I'm driving my mom's car.
Yeah.
And Louie's driving. That was
there's a lot of shit you look back on it and you're like, it's more fucked up than you think it is. Like at the time, it was just a normal thing.
Yes.
Like the trooper turning the wheels and all the other kind of shit like that. And the dog. One time I forget what it was, but he convinced me I probably needed conditioning, right? And the conditioning was walking his dog, right? which was going to this park, right? And you didn't walk the dog. It walked. It was an eccentric contraction of just not trying to get fucking pulled on your face.
That dog was out of control. Too.
Oh no. And this was my training. It's like you need to do 10 trips or whatever the fuck it was. And the whole time I'm like, is this actually like for me to get stronger? Or to see if I'm going to do it or not, or just to walk his freaking dog.
Walk his dog. He paid people to do that.
Was that Butcher?
He didn't pay me to do it.
Yeah. The Butcher was a big dog.
Was that the one? Because he had one that was in his backyard that never came in the house. Was that Butcher?
No, Butcher was in the house.
Yeah, Butcher was in the house because I
was
was
Nitro. Nitro didn't come in.
There was one when I go over there. He's like just
crazy.
Yeah, don't go.
Stare just like that mic right in your face the whole time you're watching.
We used to go there and watch the pro fights all the time. And that dog, you would have to get escorted from the front door to the sofa because you couldn't walk through the house by yourself. And then you'd sit there and you'd be watching the TV, and the dog would be right here.
So that was Nitro. That was in the house.
That was Butcher.
That was Butcher. I remember that. Yeah.
And he was probably solid. What, 110?
He was big.
110, 120 pounds. He was
solid.
And you didn't even dare turn and look at him.
No.
Yeah.
That dog scared the shit out of me. I mean, because you come to the door, and you're like, I don't know if I want to come. It's fine. And like you said, it's just you're sitting there on the couch, and it's like
slobber on your shoulder and shit. You can't.
It's okay.
You can't do anything.
It's all right. It's good. It's
good.
I
had to go to the bathroom. You're not daring getting up. You're just like,
I'm all right.
That's what was fucking me up because you got that right, and he's like, "There's the other one." It's like, "Oh, the other one's the other one's crazy," and I'm thinking, what's this one? This one's about ready to take a bite out of my face.
Jackie would bite.
Yeah.
But he was a pit bull.
Yeah, I think didn't Nitro pass away like early? Yeah.
Because isn't that what's on the shirt?
It's on the shirt. Yeah, I vaguely remember. So that had to be when I was like real young.
Butcher's the one that's on the videos.
Yes.
All right. Well, then this had to be a different dog because that Nitro would have had to pass before I got there.
Right.
Yeah,
so this was some other. That was Butcher in the back.
Big white dog.
Yeah, because it was crazy. Because I went over he'd have the fights, right? And I'd go over once or twice. And I'm like, I'm not doing this because you fucking dog slobber and shit all over.
Don't wear black. Whatever you do, don't wear black.
So I learned real quick. You're not going to go over there, for fights. And you had a 4th of July party or something one time. I went to one, and I'm like, I learned real quick. I'm not going to one of Chuck's parties either, because I don't drink.
Oh.
So all of a sudden there's like 12 Jello shots, and it's insane. And then you're like beating the fuck out of a dummy, whatever that thing was. It was a.
What was his name?
The hell was that?
I don't remember.
I don't remember that one either.
Oh no! It was the Jello shots. I distinctly remember. Right?
Well, that was in every gathering.
Yeah. Because you couldn't not do it. Because it's Chuck's not going to let you not do it. It's like tricep extensions when he says he owes you owe him 10.
Yeah.
It's
you owe him 10.
Yeah. Then you're wondering has he fucking taken the Jello shots or is it just Jello?
Yeah.
Because we're just pounding it down.
Yeah.
I forgot about
That's
that.
the whole object.
Owing me, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So there's a question: were yours the actual Jello shots or just Jello?
No, it was the same as everybody else's. But I like to push things, so I just keep it going, keep it going. Someone's going to go out, you know. I figure it ain't going to be me. It's the way I figure. So.
Yeah, those were good parties at your house when you had the pool sunk down in the.
Yeah.
I remember above.
Yeah, well, it was like a 4-foot pool, but 2 foot was in the water, so you could actually dive over the rail.
Another meet that I remember, the crazy stories, the ones that you remember that most, right? Is I don't know how Chuck and I ended up walking in the meet at the same time, but as soon as we walked in, you got called on the platform. It was fucked up because you were like 220 or whatever it was. They switched the order. Like they took the heavier class. You know how they split a day in half?
Yep.
And they put it first. You know, so we're walking in and he gets called, you know, like Chuck Vogelpohl with whatever the opener is. And it's like, you remember that?
Oh, yeah.
It's like, what the fuck is this? And it might have been Romulus. You know, it's Canton, you know, how those meets rotated through or whatever it was. That was a regular meet too.
Yeah, the Canton Open.
Yeah. Because it was there. When I came in, there wasn't that rotation yet. You know, it was trying to start like junior nationals, then nationals, then nationals, and worlds or whatever it was going to be. It was. You had to qualify. I think you had to qualify for nationals, right? Every year. So it was that to qualify, and then you know the nationals.
Top 2 for the worlds,
and then for you guys, you know, it's the worlds, and I sucked, so I didn't go to the worlds. So it's just back to the nationals again. And you know, kind of through there, where I think over time you didn't have to do that anymore.
Yeah, I don't know if you did or not. Like
For the worlds?
well, no, you always had to qualify for the worlds. Yeah.
Oh, you know what it was? It's when the IPA the IPA,
Senior nationals.
Yeah.
Because it was nationals, senior nationals, and then the world championships.
Yeah. But then later on, the reason why you didn't, that I don't think you had to qualify, is because we had that IPA.
Oh, like a split.
Separated in the gym, which was fucked up, right? That was a weird. That was a weird time. You know, where you guys fell on the APF, you know, and went with IPA, which was a weird one because at the time, you know, I'm close to Lou, right? And I'm not there that long. But my whole life, all I ever wanted to do was to win the APF Nationals. And didn't have the balls to be able to say, look, I'm going to go do the APF. You know, so that was a weird time, right?
At that point, me, Kenny, and I think Todd, we was like, no, we're doing it. We're not getting run out. I was like, I'm not letting someone else think that they're running me out.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm not running from nobody. So we went, and he was mad about it.
No, he was mad as hell about it. You know, so I wanted to, I was trying to stay out of that drama, you know, but at the same time, it actually kind of worked out, right? Because there's always been like the A and B, whatever, however you want to frame it. But what that ended up with is the IPA guys could now help, you know, the APF guys and vice versa. So then when you went to a meet, you didn't have to worry about, I don't want to throw names out, but, you know, people helping you that were either trying to get you too fired up or just getting in your way, more obnoxious, you know, than they were helpful.
Right.
You know, and so in that regard, it kind of helped, you know, because then, you know, if you guys were helping me, I remember the first time I benched 585, you know, you guys were helping me and it was one of those meets and I'm an idiot, you know, so I was the guy that would like smash my head on the bar and fucking bleed all over the place and not think through a lift. And I think it was Joe that said, just settle the fuck down, because I'm an idiot, you know, and just do exactly what we tell you to do. Exactly. And then you're on each side and it's like, take it out, hold it, you know. And I got up like, oh shit, like what just happened here? Like this shit works if you can actually think through the lift instead of just like muscle fucking it up. You know, from that, where I don't know if that would have happened. You know, you see what I'm saying? Because now you got people helping you that have actually been there instead of this just get fired up bullshit. You know, it's just.
That's what I did for years.
Yeah, I know. You know, that was the big thing. I mean, for you, yeah, I mean, when the meets I had to help you in, that was the big thing, is it's not about getting you fired up. It's like, how the fuck do we keep people away, right, that are just going to piss you off and not let you go absolutely berserk, you know, which internally berserk, you know, but there's a line, you know, and I don't think you know that unless you've been there, you know, and smack your head on the bar. You guys were patient. You were different.
I was always super calm.
Yeah, that's how I was.
Yeah.
I was until about 30 seconds before.
Yeah.
Like I had my own internal stuff that I did like right before you got to the platform, but I couldn't, like I felt like I would waste energy if I did it. Maybe I didn't have enough energy to make through the whole thing like at his level.
I don't know. I always felt like I had to just be fucking berserk.
Yeah, it didn't work for me.
So I end up fucking being zippy.
Yeah.
Shaking and doing all this other shit, and there's a balance that you got to kind of find.
Yeah, I actually had to be like I would like tell jokes and stuff between.
that's the
like
best.
I had to like not calm myself down, but like focus on something
You're
else.
just separating.
Yeah, and then
Until you had to step in that zone, then you're.
Yeah, and I think that zone, so to speak, came like in the squat when you started wrapping your knees, right? Like that was the whole when you started changing your mindset, and then whenever you got to the chalk bowl on the walk to the platform is when you could actually kind of focus.
You got to understand, for people like myself, we're seeing.
You was all hyped probably in the shower that
Oh
morning.
my God! Yeah, well, I mean, the best meet I ever had, I think Louie, or I don't know how it happened, but him and Bob Youngs took it upon themselves to make sure I was never with myself, ever.
Yeah.
Because I just want to fucking kill things, and it just builds and builds and builds. Then by the time you get there, you fucking bomb out. Like that didn't work.
That should be your next article, like me, myself, and Zippy.
Yeah, that's my training partners, myself, my pretend friend, and my imaginary friend.
Yeah.
Those are the best fucking training partners you ever have.
He has interest.
Yeah, that was the way I was.
Yeah.
I'd have to turn myself away from my competitors because if I looked at them, I'd be so mad and so focused that I would just completely go out of my mind. So I'd have to look away from them, not even look at them. If not, then all I'm thinking about is just fighting. You know what I mean? Or completely something fucking I shouldn't be thinking about. So
Where I saw that the most was in, which one was that? It was one of the WPOs, but it wasn't in Columbus. It was in an expo hall, like in Atlanta or some shit like that. And it was actually part of the expo, so where you guys were lifting.
that or New Orleans.
Yeah, you guys were lifting was like a trade show.
Yeah.
And so there was a small area, and I'm helping Chuck, right? The warm-up room was a small area, like way smaller than normal. It's where Ano squatted 1050 or.
It was at Hard Rock, wasn't it?
That was the first one.
Orlando.
That was the first one. This was after that.
WPO.
That was after that.
Okay.
But it was so fucking congested.
It had to be Atlanta or New Orleans because I think they were in both cities like 2 years in a row.
Yeah. But with him, everybody was so close, and you what you just said is 100% true. You had to help him to not see these people, and it's not like you didn't dislike them. It's just the state that you're in to compete with them. And the chicken hawk, it just kept, that was a job in itself. Yeah. Just keeping that, going because
Chicken hawk.
Well, I mean him, and I mean some. Well, there was.
I don't remember.
I know there's a lot of people that thought that Chuck had to get more fired up, and I'm like, just.
Chicken Hawk would be one of those guys that he would, hey, you need to sit down. You need to do this. I'm like, you don't need to tell me anything. Man. You know what I mean? I'm wound right now. Get away, bro.
I haven't heard chicken hawk in 20 years.
Yeah.
That's the funniest thing.
If they tell me to tell Chuck to sit down, I'm like, nope, you're on your own.
Nope. Ain't doing it.
No, I mean, it's the easiest person to help.
He's good.
You just keep him away from other people. Keep people the fuck away from him, and he'll tell you what to do when you need it. It's pretty simple.
I just stand right there with his knee wraps when he's ready for him here.
But you see, I'd see 2 or 3 people start coming over, and it's like, oh fuck that, nope, you got to, go just stay the fuck away. But with you telling jokes and shit like that, we're looking at that like he ain't fucking serious about anything. When you're the guy that hits the head against the bar, like myself, I'm like, man, what the fuck? He don't even give a fuck. And then you'll break records. I mean, maybe I need to change what the fuck I'm doing.
Yeah, I don't know. I couldn't do the whole that energy thing. That just isn't me. Yeah. Hey, everyone's their own person.
Yeah.
Yeah, whatever works for you, for sure.
He was definitely more entertaining to watch him.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Most definitely.
yeah.
Walking up to the platform.
Yeah, there was
Those
nothing
were
better.
good times.
Especially being from Columbus. There's nothing better, especially at the end when you're heavier and bigger weights. But at the WPO, at the Arnold, when you would come out for the squats especially, and the whole place would stand up and it would just start like echo. That was cool as shit for me.
Did you notice that?
Oh, I did.
I mean, did you notice that? I don't think you even noticed that, did you?
I don't know. Being honest, I don't know. You know what I mean? Afterwards, I knew it because everybody come up, but during, you're just so wound up. It's like, I don't even know what's going on at that point.
Yeah, I don't.
Then afterwards, years and years after, when I still started breaking records when I was in my late 40s and stuff like that, then I would start to slow everything down and focus. And because I wasn't as strong at that point, I started losing strength, but I started being more technical and slow my body down a little bit, and then I was able to keep on going.
If only you could have done that 20 years earlier.
Yeah, no kidding.
Well, that's
then the other was working for me,
that's
so
true.
why
That's
change
valid.
it
Yeah,
then?
that's valid.
Yeah. I mean, you were probably you were one of the first, just to start training some of the lift somewhere else.
Yeah.
Right. And your deadlift, went through it went like 100 pounds.
For me,
it went up a lot, right? And it
My
was
squat
actually,
went
you
up.
did it first, right?
I did it first.
He did it first.
Yeah, he did it actually in the gym
Yes, I did it again.
How'd you pull that off?
with his little grip deals there.
I said we're done because no one ever deadlifted or that that phase of
You don't have to deadlift to deadlift.
And I'm like,
That didn't work for
I know, but how'd you pull that off without?
just did it.
same way he left after one exercise.
Yeah.
Like he was incognito, no one saw him.
Well, Louie's always been that way. I mean, the guys who are leading, he'll let them do a little bit more than the others.
But also,
So, Joe was our best 98 at that time, so Joe was doing it a little bit. He'd leave him alone a little bit, but no one else could do that with him. Because he'd pull every person. For me, every time I had a training partner, he'd pull them to the side. You can't work out with Chuck. I have to give me a new one. I'd go get another guy and bring him in. Next thing you know, he's gone. My own cousins and everything else I bring in to work out. And next thing you know, they're over here not allowed to train with me. For years that happened.
I know. I tried for a while and end up in the corner in a fetal position.
Yeah.
It's like you can't train with Chuck like that.
no,
Yeah, well,
It was different. It was. The accessories were a lot higher volume.
I remember when he broke his
But
neck.
it wasn't just that. It was also you pushing the other stuff. But
Well, when he broke his neck, we're still out there at Boxer's Gym, Bird Bath there, and he comes in and, because of his neck was broke, this was after one of the July parties where him and Demo were wrestling, popped his neck there. And anyway, he comes in afterward, just got all that shit taken off. I think he was in that little halo. Wow. And he comes in, and his arms are all skinny. And I just got done benching. It was a Wednesday. And he's like, come on, train with me here. So we were doing dumbbells. I think he starts out with like 30s. And that was fairly good because he was pretty beat up. And we work up to like 40s. And I'm like, I'm done. He goes, no, just keep going. You owe me so many. And like we just pounded out the 40s. It was like 10 or 12 sets. I'm like, Chuck. He goes, you got more to do? I'm like, you won.
Yeah. Tapped out.
here's the thing,
I've already
too.
trained an hour and a half.
He can't count for shit either.
he can't.
So you owe him 6, and after you do 3, and you hear 2.
Yeah. He can count with
And then you
your
do 3
reps.
more, and you hear 3. You're like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
And it was a constant type of thing.
never had a problem finding followers though, did you? You just get rid of
Well,
one,
he
get
did.
another.
I mean, he just made a good. He'd bring people in.
I'd have to always bring a new one in.
He'd bring a new one in. And then after a while, because Louie would say, don't do what he's doing. Mm-hmm. I'm like, well, some of what he's doing is good.
Yeah, some of it's
working. There's something to doing 35 sets. Well, maybe not 35. There's something to doing a lot of sets of lats before training.
Yep.
You did every bar. I think it's how you did it. You did every bar for 2 sets of 12.
Well, I think when talking later to Louie, I think he said that was kind of like your GPP. You'd go into work afterwards and you'd do like 10 or 12 sets of pull downs, how detrimental are pull downs, but it's still something that you're energizing your body with, kind of more of a GPP type work. So
There one time he come in and you tore your tricep doing shit with at work, and you can barely fucking walk, and you go over to the lats, and Louie and I are sitting down in the belt squat machine, and you ain't asking nobody anything. You can't even bend over, to get the stupid attachment. So we're watching him hobble. It's not even a hobble. It's like just scooch back and like find a way to go down on one knee and grab and then use the fucking machine to like change the attachment. And then I looked at Louie and I said, should we like go go help him? It's like, you want to help him? No. You know, so we just sat there and laughed for 15 fucking minutes, you know, because it was too great. That just back down again, and just watching it was just chalk. You know, it's just classic fucking chalk stuff.
Well,
where
you know where that come from? It come because everybody else in the gym was taking off for anything. They get a little pull or something like that and wouldn't come in and train. I was like, there's no way in hell I'm going to do that. I'm going to work through anything just to kind of show everybody, man, you can get through this shit. Put blood supply in the area that you just hurt, and eventually it'll get better. You know, I just, you know what I mean? That's just the way I thought mentally, so that's what I was going to do.
you don't think anybody picked up on that?
Maybe.
I mean, that's why
it helped me out.
Yeah,
so.
no, it did. I mean, it did, because it changes that, you know, that being injured in there was brutal. You know, the first time, I'm thinking when coming back from my pack, you know, when we were at the middle bench doing speed work, you know, and I'd get timid. We'd start working up and I get timid, like, because the fucking scar tissue would keep popping, and it would happen frequently. So I get timid, and then fucking Kenny would come throwing tissues and shit, you know, and, you know, all this stuff. But that over a period of time, you know, you learn, you know, you just push through this shit, which, you know, people can debate if it's right or wrong or whatever it's going to be, but it's what we did. And you just wrap it, tape it, you know, with whatever you do.
Put some pressure
Put two
on
belts
it.
on it.
Yeah.
2 belts, yeah.
Well, there, I mean,
Knee wrap.
I mean, there was one time with him, we had to take the fucking bar out. You know, we had 2 belts on, you had a rib out, you know, speed work, and we had to lift the bar off the monolift onto his back because he couldn't get it out.
That was for Texas. I think it's Texas Senior Nationals.
Yeah.
One. And you were barely playing with 315, and I think towards the end you worked up to 400, 405 or whatever, and we were all kind of like that. And you step up on the platform. I think you ended up walking away with like 880 that day or something. But watching you squat in the gym for like that 6 weeks, it's like we take it out like an old man, you know. Then you do your. Then we're
And once he was set, he was fine.
And,
you know, it's at first I'm like, this is stupid, but then once he's set up, and well, it's fine. It's just getting there's the problem.
and he opens up on the platform like 20 or whatever it was, and he went. We're like, oh shit, okay.
But I just remember you getting real skinny. I don't know if you weren't eating. What was that phase?
Well, that was after every meet.
That was
when I
198
messed up my
phase.
neck. I had all that nerve damage in my right arm. Remember, I couldn't even push a door open.
Yep.
So
You didn't
and
like
then it
being
went to
big
that.
either. You know, so you would get big for a meet,
Well,
and then
He's always worried about looks.
Here's GQ over here saying that.
He's always worried about looks.
Says the guy who's got a spray tan.
Spray can and a half a can of gel.
you do understand that we all heard you guys arguing back and forth one time about hair gel. And you both had hair gel in your hair.
I don't have any hair. So.
I know, but he's making fun of him for wearing hair gel. And then you're right back. You're like, well, you got more on. You both had the hair gel. It was funnier than hell.
Yeah.
And they both looked like they never walked away from a barber shop. Then it's like, your wife cuts your hair every 2 weeks, you know.
That was weekly.
That was, it was weekly.
Gotta have a look.
But over a period of time, those things like you're talking about is kind of what led into, you know, if somebody, for instance, you know, I'll tell this because Eskel already knows I've told the story 100 times before and I've told it to his face. You get underneath there and somebody loses their confidence, that shit, it don't fly. It don't fly at all, right? And I remember, you know, you get underneath there and he couldn't get the weight out. And he actually turned around and said, I lost my confidence.
Remember that?
Oh, man. I remember telling him later, like, dude.
You got to make up an injury.
Like, say you popped a rib out. I can give you a list. Yes. Like, I can give you a list of things.
Well, you remember it didn't actually happen like that. He already took it out. It was a heavy weight. It wasn't in the rack yet. And he said, take it. I lost my confidence. I was like, no, don't let him in. And we just started laughing. He had to hang on to that weight for about 20 seconds. He was sitting there.
You remember first he says, whack it.
Whack it. I have no confidence. That was hilarious.
That haunted him for years after that. Because I remember pulling him aside, man, just say you popped a rib. I can give you a list. 30 things that are acceptable, man, but that is not acceptable at all.
Or the other dude that I'm not going to mention the name. we were in the gym. And
big dude from North Carolina.
Okay, yeah. When you start, you put on that music where it was laughing. This guy was strong as an ox.
He was big,
huge.
320 pounds.
And
Built
once
like
that
a brick
song
shit
came
house,
on,
too.
Was it Bob? Or
Bill.
Big Bill.
Yeah, Bill.
I had him so
Strong
mad.
as
His
fuck.
big lip was quivering. He was going to cry. I was pushing rewind, play, rewind.
That
I
tells
did it
you
the
how
whole
long
time
ago
he
it was.
squatted. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it was a long time
I
ago.
was sitting in that back room, rewind, play the whole time he squatted. He could have beat me into oblivion. I laughed. And I said back there, I wouldn't stop. Just play.
It was just laughing, right? The
Yeah.
song was just some guy
Laughing,
laughing,
yeah.
man. Oh man, that was funnier than shit.
That guy, he almost cried that day.
He might have.
He might have.
Yeah, he was pissed.
That was good.
That was there's a lot of times like that. You know, it's, trying to think of there was one that because we'd bust each other's balls for everything. It didn't matter what it was. It just would happen. Actually, with Joe Amato, the one time with this isn't anything like that.
I thought you were going to bring up this morning.
No. I mean, that's one thing there too, right? We were using the cambered bar for something, you know, benching with the cambered bar, and he went to get up, and that bar swung down as he was sitting up, whacked him right in the head, right? Knocked him out for a second. He gets up, thinks somebody hit him, and we're too busy laughing at this whole thing to even take him serious for what happened with that whole thing. That was funny as shit. That was one of the funnier ones there.
I don't think you were here earlier. Remember headbutting Joe Model before that squat? Boom!
That was funny, man, because Joe come up. He's like, I got a bump on my head. No. Everyone, and we didn't rehearse this. It's like everybody told him the same thing. No. He had a
big old egg. Yeah, as the longer it got closer to the bar, the thing just started growing like that.
It was a half an egg for sure. And there was, you know, that we were talking about when he took Eskel out, you know, before that was in Atlanta, right?
Chicago.
That's right. And he's all wrapped up. Does whatever Chuck does, right? Eskel's on his back, right? Fully wrapped, all multi-ply gear. He can't get up. You know, fucking legs and arms. It looked like a turtle, you know, stuck upside down. He got up and did it though. Mm-hmm. You know, he got up and he still made the weight. You know, that's impressive. That kind of lessened the I lost my confidence thing a lot right there.
He redeemed himself.
He did. He redeemed himself from that one for sure.
Well, Paper went through the gauntlet with Bobby Coe and all those guys.
Paper
Just the fact that we named him Paper Mache was like.
Where'd that come from? That was Yummy Yuck at first, and then the paper thing came.
That was me because
remember he was getting off the bench. And his whole body would stick, and it would just go all the way off. It was like a piece of paper picking it off.
That's what I said.
It was like,
because his body was like just had like a
triple jointed. Every part on his body was triple jointed.
His feet, it would have his top of his toes on the platform, and it would just contour to the the side of the wood to the floor. It was like a little Z.
He would look at me, and I'd look down at his feet, and one of them would be completely over here, and this one would be over here. And I'd go, "What's wrong with your feet?" And he'd go, straighten him up real quick and look at me. It was all the time. You know, he'd look at you and his feet would be all crazy.
Or breakfast at TJ's when he was selling Shakely. We got him so mad he ends up going to the bathroom and Louie's like, come on, guys, don't be doing that shit. I got to drive home with him.
Yeah, that was so funny.
That was hysterical.
It got him to the point where he couldn't remember what the heck it was called.
Shakely's.
Yeah, it was some kind of like a vitamin thing or something.
He goes, damn it.
Yeah, he would get fired up.
With you guys being in there for so long, at what point in time did you realize that this is different? You know, or something like, you know what I'm saying? Because it's just doing meets, right? And then some success here and there and then lifters. But at a certain point in time, it's like, holy shit, you know, this whole gym is, when I came in there, everybody there was basically from Columbus or the west side of Columbus. There were 74 elites or whatever it was, and every one of them were, I may have been the first person to come in from out of town, to the best of my knowledge. And that's rare. You know what I'm saying? To have 800 square foot or whatever it was, have 74 elites out of the same fucking side of town. You know, and I know for me, you don't really think about it, you know, and until you think back, like, holy shit, you know, this was kind of crazy.
See, I think for me, the time was when we actually moved to the 800 square foot, because that's when it seemed like everyone just started. And it wasn't like Joe or Chuck or one person. Everyone just started to gravitate. Yeah. And the numbers just got higher. And it was like almost every weekend, or what seemed like someone was changing the number on the board.
There's stronger people coming in all the time, though.
Yeah.
Because just like you're talking about Fuzner.
Yep.
So Fuzner and Waddle and Jerry Obradovich. And then it just kept on. And then Mike Ruggiero, it just kept on escalating. Yep. So everybody's trying to keep up with the Joneses, because those were big guys, you know, big supers and stuff. So, you know, I was squatting what they squat. You know what I mean? It was my point to do what they done, and that helped me to become a world champion, or you know, squat world records at least, just trying to keep up with those big guys. You know?
Well, that's one thing that with, you know, I don't know anything about, you know, industrial drive at all. You know, all I know is, you know, the Demorest thing, where that was the one thing that's always kind of impressed me more, you know, about Louie than anything else is, somehow or another, he made us like responsible for making each other strong.
Sure.
Like it was like my job to get you stronger, and vice versa. Like if you're stronger than me, then it's your job to try to get me stronger than you.
It was, and it was your will
to
get stronger. It was nothing. I don't think it was anything like that. I think it was just us. Man, I ain't letting that dude beat you.
Yeah.
Or me talking in your ear saying, don't let that motherfucker beat you.
Yeah.
He can't beat you. I mean, I always did that to all you guys.
That was Mondays and Wednesdays on Maximum Effort.
Yeah. I mean, you know what I mean? I like whoever's very, very close, you know, I'm going right up in their ear, letting them know, don't let that motherfucker beat you. It's you and him right now. And then that just pushes you beyond. And then the next thing you know, you're getting up on him. And I'm saying the same thing to the other dude. Don't let him beat you. So that, you know what I mean? It just pushed us all.
Yeah. I didn't think of that, you know, because thinking back, that was constantly. You know, it didn't matter because there was always somebody close.
And it was always the board to me.
Yeah, there was a board, and there's always somebody, you know, and there's always somebody coming, you know, up.
The board was always important.
Yeah, I mean, that was a constant thing. And Louie was always fucking with everybody with that, too.
I never was into the board. I was always about picking someone and trying to beat the dude who's right above me a little bit.
Yeah.
Inside the gym or at a meet, you know what I mean? I was like, I got to beat him. I didn't care what the number was. I got to beat him. And then once I started hitting world records, then I started worrying about numbers more. Right. But
when you were able to pull away from the core template, you know, of max effort day, good morning 70% of the time, deadlift, whatever it is, you know, because you guys did it with the deadlift first, right? Then what were some of the things that you wish we would have been doing sooner? You know, I kind of know what your answer is going to be as well. With, you see what I'm saying? Like if we could go back, kind of knowing what we know now, and you guys continue to compete afterwards and did change things, right? So maybe the structure of how you're waving, how much you're wearing gear, stuff like that. You know, to go, if we could, you know, go back into that time and say, here's the things that we should have done different, what would they be?
Definitely be free squat.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Wear a lot more gear. Do it as a meet setting. Just like we did today. We come out here and squatted over here. Go to different gyms, go to different atmospheres, because all places that we actually are going to lift at is going to be different. So the walls, the height in it, where you're looking on the wall, all that stuff matters in the big detail of things.
The lighting. The platform.
Yeah. So if there's change, then it helps you, I think.
I would say the biggest thing is diet, food. If I was to change one single thing, what would it change the whole game? None of us, I shouldn't have went from 165 to 230 pounds. It makes no sense.
You were 230 pounds?
Yeah.
He's like...
But what happens though?
I didn't know you got up to 230.
How about Kenny?
No. Kenny's another. Yeah, that's
focus on Joe.
3 or 10.
But then, so whatever I weighed at my max, but then I come back down. Once I learned how to eat there at the end, I learned how to eat. I mean, I got down to 190 and no bench or bench over 500. Come on.
Well,
you know, if I that's one big thing, the food. It would have been no more Cracker Barrel. I spent $46,000 at Cracker Barrel in my lifetime. You know what I mean? Because that's what we did. You know?
That was just in '99.
Yeah.
But I agree with what Joe's saying, because he was the one that talked me into going down from 75 to 42 to 220, and I physically got stronger at 220 than I was ever at 275.
Yeah.
I mean, even like raw numbers were still very competitive, and I was 50 pounds lighter. And that was just change, you know, not eating as much crap, like doing some more, you know, physical repair work. But I agree. I think the diet, or at least I don't want to call it diet, but watching what you're putting into your body to be a healthier person.
I mean, yeah, there was a while there where, you know, the only we were measuring heads and bellies.
Oh yeah, it's just so.
You know, and it was
we
not at the time, man. At the time, I did pretty good on those things. It's the other things I didn't do so good.
I could win the head tape
no doubt.
every day. I mean, Chuck didn't nickname me Head for no reason. That was a prize. There was no crown that fit the head, but that was a prize.
I mean, it was a race to see how big you could get. I mean, it was like, come on.
You equated the strength with weight gain.
Right.
And so you just kept pushing it up.
Well, some dudes did, you know what I mean? And that was more heavyweight guys, because Louie always preached, get bigger. Matt Dillon will get bigger, you'll be a world champion. Well, he did.
Right.
Donnie Thompson, get bigger, you'll be stronger. Donnie did and big, but their frames are huge. Right. So they had to catch up with it, where our frames aren't that big, so we're getting out of our weight class.
Yes.
I'm 275, you know what I mean? Kenny's 275, it's just...
275? He's like
he's
310.
Yeah,
a 283 was the heaviest I ever stepped on the scale.
How much?
283. And that was after weigh-ins in Texas at the greatest bench in America.
You look good too.
I was shapely,
I mean, you look good.
like a basketball.
big arms.
Yeah.
Well,
And there ain't
They came in handy.
Yeah. I do remember there was maybe it was Chicago again, where Jesse Kellum was talking to all of us. Basically, well, he wasn't even being polite about it. He was just like, "You're a bunch of fat, fucking bloated pigs. This can't be helping you."
Right.
And I'm like, "Well, it is." You know, it's like he's right. You know what I'm saying? I mean, looking back, you know, he wasn't wrong.
No.
You know, especially because it was just pounding everything, man. It was. For me, it was how bloated can I get?
yes.
You know, then
For leverage.
Yeah, and I'm practicing. You know, like every Friday would be like the practice, because I'd push it up, because on Friday, as you said, you know, a lot of times we're working up. That gets lost in a lot of translations too. You know, where it's the 8 sets of 2 or whatever it was.
Right.
That was half the time. You know,
That started off like that a lot of times and ended something else. Put a plate on.
Yep.
Dude say, I'll take a plate. Put another plate on. And then next thing you know, you're there.
Yeah, well, it's competitive too. So you're not going to not take the plate.
Right.
You know, you're going to have to. You don't want to miss, because that's worse than not taking it. So it's a fucked up kind of balance there. You got to figure that out and fake an injury or something. You know, and not sit down. That was the other thing I remember, was not sit down. You know, that was with the
During the squat
stuff.
Yeah.
You know, you didn't sit the fuck down. You know, somebody did. It was, we're all on their ass about that. You know, lazy pieces of shit. You know, because you didn't have the time.
Right.
That was one of the things that I didn't like when we went from Demorest. You guys went to Industrial Drive. It was way bigger.
Yeah.
Right. You think it's better, but it wasn't. You know, because when that was so small, you'd have the groups. You know, so say Louie and I would be squatting, and you and Chuck, Todd, or running, whatever. You know, somebody's changing the plates, changing the box, and so forth. We go over to the other place, and then when they're done squatting, they're fucking gone.
Yeah.
You know, they're doing reverse hypers and shit. And you're like, no, wait a minute. You know,
60 foot away.
Yeah, I gotta change my own fucking box. You miss that back and forth, that tempo.
Big
you know,
team.
the momentum.
Team thing. The team thing means a lot.
It drove me fucking
crazy.
crazy.
But think about it. When we was on Demorest, I mean, even if 2 people were squatting, everyone was within literally a 10 by 10 box.
Yeah, and I think that's what happened when that box got bigger. Yep. You know, it made it easier. You know, I don't know how much of that was a culture change, or, you know, it could be that too. You know, but that was problem. You know, because I could never jive.
I think a lot of the foundation left though shortly after it left there. So that those fundamentals. I just remember the crew before us. You know, we would come in to help them. Then we would squat. Then the crew after us would come in and spot, and it would just be a trade off. And then you were done. You know, so you helped out twice while you did yours. So
it was a little different too, because if you did try to call somebody out, you know, to work, you know, on the set, they weren't doing it. You know, some of the guys that when we moved over to you weren't, like I said, you guys weren't there, but we went over to Chuck would know what I'm talking about. You'd move over to that other place, and you'd start, and they didn't want to do it. And you're like, well, fuck. You know, I guess I still will, but there's nobody talking shit. You know, there's nobody pushing it. You gotta rely 100% on yourself, which was fine. You know, but it's a lot better. You know, if you're worried that, you know, his ass is going to end up doing 200 pounds more, and your goal is to fucking not have it be 200 pounds more, you know, whatever it's going to be, but then you're the only one. You know, big change.
Well, when they went over there, didn't they start in one space and then expand into a second space?
I wasn't there for that. They did.
That's what I thought.
I wasn't.
I stopped in and visited one time, and like maybe 2 times, and that's why I realized like
the place they're in still right now.
Yeah.
There's it still is. It's 2 walls. It's two openings. Yeah, so it's an opening.
But they still, when they moved over there, there was only in one of those.
There was only one at the very beginning. Then they expanded it. Louie just started getting more equipment, more equipment.
Yeah, because now it's probably, 4,000-ish square feet. I mean, it's pretty good size.
Probably about half of this.
It might be. I mean, if you take both sides and combine it, it might be the same as this. Maybe. I mean, I was just over there last week. So maybe a little smaller. I mean, it's still
far cry from what we were used to.
Well, you know what? When I walked into there the last week, it was a lot smaller than I remembered, right? Because I remember going from that small place, right? And then that place was like huge. When we went over, it seemed to just giant. Then when I walked in there the other day, I'm like, this is small.
Right.
You know, it's not that small. I mean, it wasn't what I thought I remembered. Let's put it that way, which fucks with your head a little bit because you don't know what do you remember and not remember.
Yeah, in a way, I'm almost glad I didn't go there.
Yeah.
But, it was because to me, regardless of when you left our 800 square feet, like to me, that's what you said. That's the west side I remember. So when you came through the door, like you were greeted by the side of the power rack, the bench power rack, right? You could barely get through the door because dumbbells were on the floor. Like to me, that was the whole point of the gym.
Mm-hmm. Your little table, you know, where you could throw your beepers on.
Yeah. Damn.
I'm not lying.
You are not lying. Yep. That's the same. Yeah, you're right. That's the same table where we kept the tissues for you. Yeah, it was right next to the beeper box.
That's right.
I put them right next to the
Mm-hmm. With the lifters that you're working with now, what are the differences that you see with them compared to, say, 10, 15 years ago? Just weak point wise, technique wise. Because gears change things. The way the gear works is different. Has,
but it's really, really hard to get someone's form right for the gear that we're using right now. Mm-hmm. It's really, really hard because it locks up so hard, so quick. You know what I mean? So, I mean, structure, just where your position is. There's time. You have to be in those suits quite a bit right now. I mean, a lot in order to get it right. Mm-hmm.
Did you find that was true with the canvas when you went in? I mean, when you started to really work in it, you know, when you broke out and started
I was just figuring
more.
It out. You know what I mean? I was always figuring it out. So,
yeah.
And I could tell where the leverages are. If you're bent over a little bit, when you get to the bottom, the canvas don't stretch anymore. So all of a sudden it hits like this. If your shoulders are forward, all of a sudden all you're going to do is your butt's going to do this and your shoulders are going to go like that. So then it was like, all right, now what do? I feel like I'm sitting on a box and can't go any lower. So the only thing I can do at this point is keep my frame where it is, start opening my knees, and try to set through that little hole. And I started doing that, and that started working. So I was able to get closer to a parallel position. And then you know what I mean, then where the bar sets on your back, whether it's up higher. And it needs to go up a lot higher in order to get straight up and down. Because if it's lower on your back, then your shoulders something has to stabilize the weight. Mm-hmm. So, you know what I mean? You're in front of yourself, and there you go. At the very bottom, you're going to have problems again. Mm-hmm. So it's very, very technical.
So do you have them in the gear all the time?
No, not all the time, but using that form for everything. I don't care if you're doing any squats on a box or without a box, you're going to use that form. You know what I mean? Raw lifting is totally different form than what you have down there, but when I have them do raw, I'm going to still have them squat the exact same way. So every time they get on the bar, it's going to be the same. Mm-hmm. Every time. You know what I mean? You don't want to change anything because old habits, they're going to happen when you get heavy weights on the bar.
Mm-hmm. What about mentality-wise?
I don't know. I haven't been training a whole lot of people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I know it's different. Everybody's phones and everybody's what did I do and all that type of stuff instead of listening to their training partners as far as what you did right, what you did wrong. Mm-hmm. So, everything's just changed. But.
Well, while we were there, you tested everybody, all the time. It's just kind of who you are, what you did. And then after a certain point in time, you didn't test them anymore. Either they've proven themselves or whatever it was. You know, can you remember any instances where somebody did something to you where, like, okay, I'm not going to have to test this person anymore?
No, not really.
Or you just,
I mean, I don't even notice if I do or don't. You know what I mean? I really don't. If you're a good buddy of mine, then that's when I'm be in your ear saying whatever to try to get you going to the next level. Like Kenny's over there about ready to do something. I'm going to go over there and talk something to him, try to motivate him to go to the next thing. And I've always been like, if someone comes up to me and says, that motherfucker thinks he can beat you, boy, you're going to burn me up. You know what I mean? I'm going to kill myself to prove that that's not going to happen. So I know it's going to happen to everybody else too. You know what I mean? Because, I mean, that's the bottom line. You know, we're here to win. That's why you're doing it. It's individual sport. You know, you're here to win. So you put that on someone's shoulders and usually they take off with it.
Well, we had a lot of people come in. You know what I'm saying? First, I guess before going down this road, there was a lot of times it was just you, me, and Kenny in the gym. And we're like, the fuck happened? You know, we had like 15 people and now there's 3. Then Louie would say, hey, can you guys find people? And we're like, how? Like, we don't train. Like, where are we going to find people? Like, Hajis? Like, where are we going to go find people to come in? But when the newer people would come in, I can speak for myself, you know, I'll help them, right? But I'm not like totally committed, you know, to helping them until I would see that they were going to work.
Right.
And I mean, and actually come back from, I mean, there were a lot of things like, are they going to work? Are they going to work if they're hurt? You know, there are certain things where. Are
they going to be here every week?
Yes. Because a lot of them didn't last long. You know, I remember one dude come up from Florida that was, you know, super, I can't remember his name, or super serious, was staying with Demorest. Dude lasted like a week and a half, you know, completely moved, and he couldn't handle it. I'm like, what the fuck can you not handle? I mean, because you're still there at the time. I mean, it's like, what can you not handle about it?
Yeah, could it be the fact that if they're coming from a gym in Florida where they're the top dog and they run into where they can't beat our 198, like, is the pressure too much for them?
That's what it is.
Yeah, I think it is.
Louie ran all kinds of people out over here at the gym where he's at now, right before I had left the last time, you know, because I really can't power lift anymore. So right before I left, he would always invite people over all the time that were pretty strong. They would come in and they wouldn't be there long. And next thing you know, they'd leave. They would actually start going backwards. So, you know what I mean?
No, I know exactly what you mean, because I think, you know, that's what we are looking at when people would come in. Right. You know, like we're going to help. I mean, you're going to help technique-wise, not like you want to see them, but you're not fully, what am I looking for, vested?
Well, a lot of times technique, it takes a while.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. All of a sudden you're changing structures. Right. Well, you're not strong in the structure that we've just taught you to be strong in. You're not there yet. You have to take it back and then build it up. The suit's going to help you at the bottom a bunch. So now it's got to turn into more leg press than what it ever has before. So now you got to be more leg dominant than what you did before. But it's not quad dominance per se. You still have to load your ass and your hamstrings. So it's that balance, you know. That's what it's all about.
Well, there's also a lot of pressure, you know, as you said, when they come in, because, you know, everybody's stronger, but, you know, deal with it. You know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, I still got to get myself stronger. You know, if he's 200 pounds stronger, so be it. But I still have to get stronger before I worry about trying to compete with him, you know, being stronger. It still kind of falls back on that. And there's self-pressure with that. Then there's the other pressure, but then there's the pressure we would put on him as well, you know, that's where I've kind of always had, it's selfish in a way. I've always kind of had a issue with people being on the board that weren't actually there. Right. It's like, no, wait a minute. You know, there's more to that. You know, granted, it's Louie's board. He can do whatever the fuck he wants to do with it, but there's more to that. Like, you didn't have to deal with Louie's good side and bad side. You know, you didn't have to deal with everybody throwing tissues at you. You didn't have to deal with all these. There was other things you had to deal with that made that spot worth having that spot. Right? Outside of just somebody swooping in and doing the lift. It's like, wait a fucking minute. And that don't work like that. You know, a lot of those people up there almost quit 3 or 4 times. You know, almost got thrown out 3 or 4 times. Maybe did, you know what I'm saying, and then came back. And some of that I think other people would embrace it when they'd come in, and other ones just couldn't handle it. You know, I don't think we were overly, and maybe other people could say differently, I don't think we were overly asshole-ish, which I think gets portrayed. Yeah. You know, a lot of
times. Their fitness level, sometimes they're just not up fitness level. So they get in, they get blasted, they get sore, and they start going behind, and they're like, this ain't for me.
Right. Or they wouldn't do the things they had to do to get in shape either. Right. You know, granted, we were bloated and all this other kind of stuff, but we had a high work capacity. As bloated as we were, we could still do, if we needed to, 15, 20 sets back to back on the speed work.
You could do that, but not walk down the hallway without stopping 3 times and leaning up against the wall.
Well, yeah.
On the airport.
Well, I've told a story one time where Chuck and I got, because a monolith was out, we got stuck squatting in a fucking power rack. He probably don't remember it because it's just a normal fucking day for him. And he's like right off his broken neck, and he's not anywhere close. He's like 50%. We're going back to back squatting. And it was one of those, as soon as he's done, with the push person out of the way type of thing. We got to like 15 sets or whatever it was, and he started to look tired, and he's not. And then it ended up being like 40 some fucking sets. But that's the day I realized he hates to lose more than he likes to win. I'm like, first off, I couldn't do any more anyhow. I could do 100. It don't matter. He ain't going to fucking lose.
You do 101.
Well, that's fucking ridiculous. And Louie afterwards, you guys are fucking idiots. And like, well, whatever. You know, it's a good story now. But,
sure.
You know, I thought for the first time, you know, I'm thinking of every dumbass fucking easy bar tricep extension you owe me 4 more. Like, I'm going to get this motherfucker today, even though he's 50% with a fucking, just got out of a cast, whatever it was.
You can leave that part out of the story, 10 years later.
Well, no, he was not anywhere close to his best. If he was, I wouldn't even tried.
Yeah.
You know, it was just, but that's part of it too, though. If they come in and they don't have that condition and they get tested like that, you know, sometimes the worst squat group you could have would be 2 people. You know, because you get that little,
come on, let's go.
Yeah, a little bug up your ass, whatever it is, you push them the fuck out. You just wear them out with the tempo, then maybe they won't work up. You know, there's all kinds of things going through my head, you know, and because they work up, you're fucked. You know, I had to squat with Louie using bands, which was another fucking story in itself because he's on pin 1, you know, hole 1 on the monolift. I'm on 14. You know, that was a whole other clusterfuck.
There's no more band tension higher it goes.
No, it's the same.
Yeah, it's the same.
No, he told me that a million fucking times. Then we fucking throw Chuck into the whole thing. Right?
Look at my briefs, so I can put my
he said, I know the bands are the same. I'm like, no, what do you mean the bands are the same? The bands are the same. I'm like, dude, it's this much higher. Yeah. Well, Chuck can do it. The fuck kind of answer is that? That makes no sense. So one time I took the boxes that we used to deadlift on and I threw them in the monolift. Said, do that. And he says, well, if you do. And I'm like, wait a minute. Because it was already like 8 fucking blues and a purple. It was when it was you went further after that, but it was when it was way out of hand. And I'm like, I couldn't even get it out to begin with. You see what I'm saying? So he never did it, but I'm like, I'll get this son of a bitch. I'm going to make him actually feel. Because his bands they'd flap at the bottom. You're like, wait a goddamn minute. This ain't right. You know, but that's just like the fucking jack stands taking it out on the same stand he was because your lower back's weak. You know, it always come back to your low back's weak.
Then he would always squat in those canvas shorts, but say they didn't
That's what I mean. They're loose. Look how loose
they are. Take them off.
Somebody had a picture. Like I said, we asked earlier, like how the pictures got taken. I remember one day taking it, but somebody had a picture of somebody putting I don't even know, you can't call them briefs. Because they were like
jean shorts.
It was like 10 people. There were like probably 6 people, you know, and he's all for the ground trying to get in these things. He's like, these ain't tight. These ain't tight. These ain't tight. Like, what the hell you mean they ain't tight?
Why did you do it then? Because they were special made.
I don't know if they really help though. You know what I'm saying? Because I've worn thick briefs, right? And they don't really help.
It was just so bunched up material that kind of helped tighten up at the bottom. So yeah, like it wasn't tight seriously on his leg.
Yeah, the hip flex, it's going to build up in the hip flexors. Yeah.
Yeah.
The trying to think of some other ones like with the bench where the other ones I got blasted on was we had the little bolts, you know, so it wasn't like it was a hard lift off, right? I mean, I'll be the first to say it wasn't a hard lift off, but after my pec, I couldn't get shit out. You know, after a certain weight, say 315, I had to have somebody get it out there. Nah, shit didn't fly either. I asked for a lift off. Louie jumped my ass. It made you guys not lift off to me.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to get this fucker off the pin and I can't, and you're all laughing. This is the shit that I'm talking about. You got to go through that, right, to be able to.
You're at Kenny's
growl.
height, though.
The growl stuff.
You're on Kenny's pin height, too.
Well, I didn't think about that.
Which is extremely high.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
You had one, didn't you have one where you couldn't even get it out of the rack?
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking
Like
about.
365 or something like that on there. He couldn't get it out.
I'm madder than hell. I'm madder than hell. Louie's like, don't lift off to him. No.
Well, Lou had a special liking to you.
Oh, I know he did.
It was,
Yeah, for sure.
It was more so than the rest of us, I believe.
Well, I would talk shit back to him.
Yes.
And that's a lot of you guys, what you did, but a lot of guys didn't.
No, I did.
Nice. No, I did. I did like a motherfucker, because he talks shit to me. And I think too that when you squat in the same group, back to back for years, it kind of opens that a little bit, because you're going to say shit while you're in those sessions that you're not normally going to say anyhow. But he would blow shit out and I'd just blow it right back, and sometimes he'd get madder than hell, but other times he would do. Looking back now, the dude was 52, whatever he was.
Yeah.
And now being in that age, it's like, Jesus Christ, how do you do that shit?
It's amazing.
Then I'm jumping his ass for being an old man and being, worthless and weak and all this.
Louie is tough, man. He's tough.
How old was you when you last competed? Like, when was your
49?
49.
I'd been 50 in May, and that was March. I was Arnold.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can't even imagine doing it today.
He was 52.
That was crazy.
In there talking shit and, blasting in. So I didn't act like he was that fuck. I didn't even know what 52 was.
No.
Now I do.
It's the hard way, too.
They're like, holy shit. It's crazy.
Yeah, I don't know that I would want to be, at this point in life, still involved in that, competing at that level. Mm-hmm. Just because, the bumps and bruises you feel. Now, I can't imagine if you make it, if you was him and then what you feel like at 70 or 75,
No, I can't imagine that.
He told me it when I came up.
It would be so exacberbated that brutal.
One time to visit, I met him at breakfast there and was explaining to him, what I was doing. I was going to try to get down here up here to compete at Lexington's gym or one of the meets there. And I was preparing and he says, get out. I'm like, one, because get out now while you can walk. He goes, you're everything that you have going on right now is going to get so much worse when you get 60. I'm like, I still got time, Lou. That's what you taught us.
That's around the corner now.
I still got time, man. Come on, let's go.
How old was you then?
I think 52.
Okay. Yeah.
He ain't never said that shit to me.
Yeah, he just told me, he says, get out. He goes, worst thing I ever did was stay in it. He goes, all these shots and everything and all this special treatment I'm done.
Yeah, I couldn't do it.
He goes, none of it's worked. He goes, you got a granddaughter, get out. I'm like, nah.
He was a wreck then. When I was there, when I started, he was he was biceps and shoulders and knees and.
Oh, I remember on a regular basis shooting saline and every constant. He's like, give me a shot, and he'd be all, shoot it right. I'm like, are you sure? I'm like, all right.
Mm-hmm. He was retired when I came in. He was not competing ever again.
Right.
Then you opened your mouth and pissed him off. But that changed everything too. It really did. When he started training again, it changed a lot, right?
Yep.
Because now he's like fucking beating me. Right. Like, wait a minute, this is kind of fucked up. He's like dead. And now I got to worry about him beating me. So it changed. I think it changed everybody in the gym a little bit. Yeah. It definitely changed him.
What year was that? Do you remember?
Man, I don't know.
Because he was only, when that happened, I think he was like 42 or something. 44 maybe? That was
He was 42 when we started. He was 42.
Wasn't he? Okay. Mm-hmm.
Because he was, 50 when he benched 600.
Right.
And he was 56 when he actually did that 920
Squatted 900, yeah.
Well,
that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's absolutely amazing for the path and the history that he had. So.
Yeah, that's next level stuff.
So when some of this shit come in, like the chains, You know, and granted, we're all kind of living at the time. You know, it's a stupid question to ask because I can't even ask it myself. Like, what did you think when he brought in the chains? It's like you just didn't think shit, right?
Just another thing to try.
Yeah.
Because it was always. I think what people don't realize is all the shit that didn't work. You know, all the experimental movements and try this, and then it phased away, and you kept that core. I'm gonna call it like 8 or 10 things or whatever it was, but we tried so many different things that didn't work, and obviously you don't publicize all that stuff. You know, so now it's chains, bands, you know, max effort day, dynamic effort day, whatever.
Yeah, you remember when bands, chains, weight. It was like 8,000 pounds weight all at the same time. Yep. It was like 1 billion pounds at the top.
Yeah, it took longer to load everything up than it did to do the lift.
Yeah, I think that's why it faded away. Yeah, go ahead. Yep. What's that?
I said I gotta go.
Okay. You out? Okay. Thanks for coming, man.
There was no break to come in at the right time. But
yeah, that's all right. That works. That works. I appreciate for coming out.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much.
Yep.
All right, Chuck.
Guys, take care.
Yep, that works. So with getting back to the things that didn't work, you know, what are some of the ones that you remember? Yeah, you're cool.
You gonna take your water? Chuck, you want your water? Okay.
What are some of the things that you can remember that came in? And because I'm trying to think right now, because there was a lot of stupid shit that kind of came in and actually everything to me looked stupid when it came in. You know, like the manta rays, like, what is this?
I mean, I don't necessarily remember anything that sticks out.
I don't think the weight
releasers didn't work. That didn't catch at all.
That was too gimmicky because it worked different for me than it did with him.
Right.
We were almost the same size and nothing. So I don't think that caught on.
I think anything that helped increase your speed or knock down your speed, that speed curve, because I think where the chains came in to help, that's where a lot of people took off, right? Because everybody was super explosive except for Dameron. Everybody was super, super explosive. And, you know, you just pretty much all the energy that you exerted off your chest on the bench just floated to the top.
Right.
Well, a lot of us had weak triceps at the top, you know, except for triceps over here. But, you know, then when the chains came in, everything became a full press and it slowed that speed curve down and everybody's strength. So we're like, okay, well,
you had to grind a little bit.
Put it on the squats and carry it over on the squats, you know.
See, I wasn't a big fan of I love chains. That was because to me.
See you, buddy.
See you, Chuck. So to me, and I still stand by this today, you could weigh a chain. Remember the chains were like 20 pounds, right? So it dangled a little bit on the ground. So call it 18. But everyone always tried to put poundage to band tension. And to me, it's tension. It's not pounds. And so the overkill, and maybe my central nervous system wouldn't take it. I didn't like doing bands. I would like using the bands, like to your point, Todd, where it just slowed you briefly down, that you had to push against something to accommodate resistance. But that's why chains to me, because you could alter the height of a chain. You know, do you want it almost all the way off the ground or just barely off the ground? So to me, chains, the things, back to your original question, I just remember the things that actually worked for me, not the things that really didn't. Because, you go think about it. I mean, this was 20 plus years ago now.
No, it's a long time.
Yeah, to remember that kind of stuff. But, I mean, I think a lot of people's lifts in general, regardless of how much they use them, chains and bands were instrumental in a lot of people's.
Yeah, I mean, the chains took my squat.
Yeah, huge.
Yeah, it was Joe and I, this real fast. And it was, I had a squat before they came in that was one of those lifts that you do where your form doesn't break, and it's hard.
Right.
I mean, you after you do that lift, because your form don't break and you barely made it, you're like, but like, what do I do now?
Right.
Like now I have to like actually get. It's different when you go to a meet and you leave weight on the platform where you fell out of the groove and you're like, well, if I can fix that, this is like shit, you know. And the chains took it like 100 pounds more. Just, Joe as well, motto is just boom, just right away. I'm like, whoa, what the hell?
Yeah, because when you pulled it off, you still in your mind you're pushing that much harder.
Yeah,
and like it almost like would, you know, someone super explosive, like the bar would pop off your back at the top. Same thing in the bench. I remember doing speed work with like George and Rob, and I don't remember what we worked up to, but then at the end we pulled the chain off, and you literally felt like you could let go of the bar and it would keep going. Because you were just so, you know, bent on pushing as hard as you can all the way through the top, where before you kind of coasted at the top because it did get easier. So to me, those were the two things for me that actually made the biggest difference. And regardless, not that I was a huge squatter or anything like that, but just using those.
I think another big difference was when I first started coming out at Van Horn's, the weight that we were using for speed work, was like 365, 405, yep. Right? Was because I was on your bench. Mm-hmm. I mean, that was, and we were moving it, sure. But then I think Van Horn or somebody got hurt and they had to start using less weight. Then they put 50 pounds on them immediately. I go, wait, everybody, it went down.
Yep. Way down.
And then as that kept going down, the benches kept going up, right? Which is like reverse of what you would think is yep. supposed to happen. But not one of us was like, no, don't take the weight off. I mean, I think we were kind of relieved in a way because, that's fucking live. Was it really speed work, there towards, yeah. 405 on that 8th set or whatever it was. But it went from 405, all the way down to, I remember using 185 with a light band,
yeah.
To bench 100 pounds more.
Right.
It's like, that's a crazy ass yep. change there.
Yeah. It's hard to believe that. Because to your point, I remember the top sets would use like 405 for speed work, 8 triples, what mm-hmm. we would do. But then even myself, now granted I was in a lighter weight class at the time, but I remember like 245 and some chains, and and your bench just kept going up and up and up. I mean, I think at 220, I was 12 pounds off my all-time best, and that was even in a full meet. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, hell, if you could have benched, trained with 135, I probably would have done it. Mm-hmm. To get the same results.
Were you still there when bands came in?
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. So I remember with that one, Louie, we were at Cracker Barrel, Bob, whatever it was at the time, whatever the restaurant of choice was yeah. at the time. It's back then we were paying for our breakfast. He wasn't yeah. paying for ours, so it's a little bit different. Yeah,
we missed that one.
Yeah, we kind of missed that one. You know what? He probably wasn't making as much sure. either at the time either. So in all fairness with that, but we left and we went to this basketball clinic. Right. And this Dick Hartzell's got a booth and the dude's laying on the ground doing these stretches and shit with the bands, using the little platform, bands around his feet, taking his feet out like a, super, super wide, like a porn star, and then back in. Yeah. And I'm like watching this and I'm watching the hamstring stretching. And I'm like, all I'm thinking of being my 300 and, pound
tearing
acne bullet ass. Right. Just like, we ain't doing this. Right. And I'm like trying to like run this through my head. Like, what are we going to do here? He already told us not to stretch, flex. So I'm not getting it, man. I'm just not registering. Then he gave me the blue one and he's like, well, try that. And I put it around my back, tried to bench with it. I'm like, this is fucking, I couldn't do it. I did it, but I had to like zippy myself up to be able to do it. He buys all of them. And I'm thinking, as we're driving back to the gym, I'm thinking, the fuck are we going to do with these things? And you pull in and put them on the bar to squat with. No, it was the bench. It was the bench with at the time. And I'm like, oh, okay. Then at the time, I'm like, this is going to be awesome because the chains were around for about a year, maybe a year and a half. It's funny because people ask me, when should you use chains and bands? I'm like, well, if you go according to what I saw, you don't use any of them for 3 years. Right. Mm-hmm. Then you use chains for about a year and a half, whatever that was. Then you do the bands because that's how we did it. We didn't have that. We didn't know. But at the time, I was thinking, wow, if this is going to do what the chains did, then it's going to put another 100 pounds on. Yeah. I didn't foresee it was going to be like us putting 30 chains per side. Yeah. Right. Because it did.
So because I'm not involved in powerlifting anymore, let me ask you. So with newer lifters coming in, do you advise them to start using like bands and stuff, right? Because to me, you had to build like a core strength before you could start putting that stuff on. And now you see people, whether they're 16, 17 years old in high school, doing like mm-hmm. band work. And I don't know if that's beneficial at that point without.
Depends. I'd have 2 answers on that. So say it's a very, very true beginner and you're trying to teach them how to stay tight. If you just put a little bit of band on, like a mini band, a light band, as soon as they take it out of the squat, they have to get tight. Mm-hmm. They have to, because it's going to throw them around. And then the other thing that's hard to teach a beginner is how to stand up with intent. Now if they sit down, say they sit at the bottom of a squat or they sit on the box, and they just try to stand up slow, but just even they got to stand up. Right. Outside of that, probably not for beginners at all.
Sure.
And then the other question becomes when you become more advanced, they kind of ground you, when you're squatting. because it's like 2 other legs. Because I think that for me, it was a big part of the reason when they came off, I couldn't stabilize myself.
Because you was moving around.
Shaking around because this ends up, kind of stabilizing you. Where it has its point, but I think they have to come out, before. So to answer your question, for a younger lifter, only for what I'm saying, to teach, because it's kind of hard to teach somebody to stay tight.
Yeah.
Even on the bench, you're trying to teach people how to stay tight before they lower the bar, and they're a beginner. They can't wrap their head around what do you mean?
Yeah.
You put a band on, and if they don't, it's going to go, all over the place. But
yeah, you can't tell them to tighten their lats if they don't have lats yet.
Yeah, well, they don't even know what tight is.
Yeah, they don't know what tight is.
They don't get that. Yeah. It's a different thing.
It took me 10 years to figure out what the hell he was saying when it came to that. Tighten your lats. I'm like, damn. Then when you actually tighten your lats, you're like, oh shit, now that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Squeeze your glutes. I am. When I actually squeeze my glutes, oh crap, boy, that makes it a whole lot easier. But sometimes you just don't have that connection. So
it's funny. I think we talked about it last time. Like verbal cues.
Mm-hmm.
I wish we would have been better at that a long time ago, because there's certain things that even today, you hear people say that totally make sense that we didn't say back then.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we had our own verbal cues, but I think we probably all could have done a better job at it. Other than Coach McCoy over here, was probably the best one to pick apart, and that's in a positive way, what you were doing.
Mm-hmm.
Because I remember, and I don't even know who told me this, but when I was benching, they said, push yourself through the bench, down through the bench, versus pressing the bar off of your chest. And after that, that's all I ever thought about, was separating myself from the bar, not actually pressing the bar.
Mm-hmm.
And it worked for me, obviously. But
I think there's a lot of things that we just, at that time, we took for granted, just assumed everybody else knew how to do. How to make the belt tight would be an example of that. Squeeze the bar, things like that. I think we are doing certain things that, say with their feet today, they call it rooting. If we're bracing, we're getting under there, we're digging our feet into the plat. We're kind of doing the same thing. We just didn't know it was rooting.
We didn't have a term for it.
You see what I'm saying? Or the bracing, we were kind of doing that, but it wasn't really the bracing. We just didn't know. So it makes you wonder, though, how many people came through there that weren't doing that, that we didn't see.
Sure.
Because I came in when Louie was beating everybody in the stomach with metal rods, with the stick, and that teaches you to flex, right? You're kind of looking at it like this is kind of stupid, but and there were times where if somebody was squatting, you never knew if somebody was going to come whack you, with the stick. Board press, the same thing, right? You lay down, somebody's going to put the board on. You don't know if they're going to fucking whack you, and I don't even know if we knew what we were actually teaching at the time. We just had the opportunity to whap somebody in the stomach with a board, and they didn't know if we were going to do it or not.
Or just
that's funny, But think about what it was teaching us to do. Keep the belly tight, get it expanded, get ready to get hit. 'Cause sometimes it happened.
There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, definitely.
I might have whacked a couple people.
No, there's no doubt. There's no doubt. When you guys left, you didn't have, or maybe you did. I mean, you didn't have I don't want to say identity crisis, but you didn't have the same issues that a lot of powerlifters go through when they leave. So why do you think that is?
Had other things. Like, I left because my career started to, I got into law enforcement and just got busy with that and just didn't have time. Because if I'm not 100% in, it was kind of like, we just got to go.
Yeah.
So I always continued to work out. Just didn't have it in me anymore. Just done.
Mm-hmm.
And I do find that. I mean, there's people still to this day, Westside Barbell, that defines them.
Yeah.
I'm like, come on.
And those same people were never really anybody at Westside Barbell.
Yeah. Well, even before that, though, you were working your ass off. I mean, you were working. It's funny because people ask you, how do you balance, work hours and powerlifting? I'm like, this dude was working like fucking 3 jobs, and still coming in the gym to be able to do that, and did very, very well,
But also I think I got out with no real injuries.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that was always in the back of my head.
Joe was dumb enough to injure himself years later doing all this crazy shit that he does now.
Yeah.
But that's...
Mm-hmm. What about yourself? Because it definitely had to hit you to some degree.
So I would echo what Joe is saying. I think, and I think this for our entire morning crew, and I don't want to include the night crew because I really didn't know them. But everybody we trained with, this core nucleus of people, all had stable home lives and careers. And so we didn't necessarily, or I didn't, I should say, I didn't use powerlifting as an identity. It was something that I did that I loved, that was a huge hobby of nothing. I mean, we didn't make money from it. We spent a lot. We traveled a lot. But I think part of being able to walk away was you had something else. Just like Joe, my career continued to progress, right? So at some time, you know, you're not making 35 grand anymore, right? You're supporting a household. You have a mortgage. You have, you know, and am I going to turn down a promotion that's going to pay me, you know, let's say twice the amount of money to continue to do something that's still just a hobby? And so, you know, I felt like when I was done, I didn't have a lot left to prove for me. You know, I think what I did for myself, you know, I was happy with where I had landed with what I had done. So it was easy for me to walk away and just turn that same energy and focus towards something different. But to Joe's point, I mean, I still work out. I still try and stay in decent shape, you know, not obviously strength training per se. Yeah. But I had something to focus on. But I had that from, I mean, I've had the same job since I was 18 years old. So, yeah.
Well, I'm glad what you said because there's a perception, you know, that crew that we're in, that time that we're in, that, you know, we're just all thugs. Yep. You know, and that wasn't the case. No. Like,
it was the farthest from the truth.
I mean, yes, there were some. I'm not going to, nobody's going to deny that. Yes, there were some. There were. But the majority of the people barely had the time to come in and train and get back. You know, I was leaving work to come train there and then to get right back to work again at 11:30, where I didn't know a lot of you guys outside of the gym because we were all fucking working. Yeah. We all had other things to do. We're in the gym. Yeah, it is what that is. But, you know, I'll see certain interpretations or perceptions and I'm like, that's kind of not how it was. I mean, you know from the meets and, you know, the gym and all the other kind of stuff, maybe a little bit outside here and there, but not much because we all, 90%, we're all too busy doing other shit. You know, it was hard enough just to get in there, you know, the 4 days or more, you know, sometimes, but and you couldn't miss, you know, that was the other part, you know, so that was,
well, that's kind of what happened to me in a way too, as I got to, when you start changing the focus or something else starts to compete with powerlifting, a career, you have to start balancing which is now more important, you know, because I can only powerlift for so long, but I have to live until I'm, you know, let's hope to be 75, 80 years old, whatever the case may be. So there has to be a change and a shift where your priority becomes, you know, your career, your home life, you know, success or whatever the case may be versus just the sport. And I don't think I never let the sport identify me. Like, it was something that I loved to do. It was something that I focused on, but it was never my number one priority. It was a solid like 1B, right? But it couldn't be your first priority because your number one priority is what allowed you to do it. It's what funded, you know, traveling for meets or, you know, equipment or whatever you were buying to use to get to where you're going. So, and that's why I say, like, this core group of people all had stable home lives, quality jobs, good families. So there wasn't the strife. We weren't the people that, you know, moved here and lived in a hotel and bounced at a you know, strip club. Like, that wasn't our group. No. And again, you're right. There was people that did that. Yes. And I'm not putting those people down.
And but some of them did last, but most of them didn't.
Most of
them, you know, came and couldn't last and ended up.
Because there's no stability. Yeah. So to me, I mean, that's why I had no problem being able to walk away and being able to say, I left what I wanted to leave out there and I'm done. So, and to me, it's work. I mean, you know, you look at any one of us, like, well, I know you went from Honda to your current employer, but so he's had 2 jobs. Us 3 have been with the same company for over, well, I think Joe's like 25, and Chuck's a year or so more than me, and I'm 31.
Yeah, I was working for the same place the whole time I was there, and then this. You know, so 2.
So you've had 2, and one of them you own. So
yes, which is a different thing. Sure. Where there's, as you said, there's that time where you have to figure out, you know, that balance, right? It's offset. when you're competing, it's definitely offset, but there's a tipping point where it's like, I'm not able to take care of these other things, because now this is not balanced where it's supposed to be.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, if you're one of us, your employer really doesn't care about your powerlifting career.
Not at all.
Let's be honest. I mean, hey, I have to miss a morning meeting because we have to squat on Friday mornings at 8. And they're going to say, okay, that's great. Now you can't be promoted. So at some point you have to pick pick your poison. Are you going to focus on what could last for, 20, 30, 40 more years, or what could end in one meet? So
now you drifted from the morning crew to the night crew to the morning crew to the night crew for years.
Just based off the work, going from first shift to third shift. I had some of my best times was, when I worked third shift, I get off there and just drive straight to the gym, grab a hamburger on the way in, I think it was, and we lifted at 8:30 or something like that. So yeah, that was some of my better times than when I, go into this new other automotive manufacturing. I had to take a time off because we went into, very busy time. Of course, in the automotive, it was spiking at that time. And I just, explained to Louie, I can't do this anymore. And he's like, well, just come in on, weekends or something like that. And I'm like, no, you don't understand. I'll be traveling. I'll be in Alabama, Canada, Indiana. So I'll be all over the place, sometimes Japan. So I'm just going to take time off. And that's when your business was kind of taking off, and I believe I think I dropped down from like 280 something to
112.
Yeah, something like that.
No, it was down there. He was healthy.
Yeah, actually 190 something, and Dave's like, I'm going to start benching on Sundays. Can you come in at least to spot me? Because he asked me, and I'm like, hell no, I don't want to go back. I'm done. I'm out. I never touched a weight since then. Never even thought about it. And it was just because I felt like I wasn't healthy because Joe talked about the diet and all that other stuff. So when I did come back, Dave asked me, he says, I'm gonna start benching out here. So I'm like, okay, I'll come in and spot for you. And at the time I brought in which is my wife now, came in and she exercised, and she's over here doing push downs with like 30 more pounds than what I could do. And I'm like, all right, shit's stopping now. I'm gonna start training again. I can't have that, and I'm like, so that's kind of what motivated me to come back. And I went, I think I never got over 250 at that point. But
at least you're taller.
I approached it healthier.
Right.
And I had some health conditions and stuff like that with my digestive system. And that kind of pushed me to stay lean eating, no more fat. And then, hell, I ended up being stronger at a lighter body weight. I ended up making bigger gains at like 246 is what I competed at. Yeah, it's 4 pounds away from 242, but I just wanted to do better for myself. I'm not going to the Worlds, so I just want to set my records. Actually, after I left and came back, I was able to post up 2 more big numbers in the Westside, the 600 pound club and whatever it was. So
you deadlifted 600?
Bench.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I didn't know what. It must have been a
You didn't clarify what lift.
I just wanted to make sure.
So yeah,
actually, I should not be making fun of anybody's deadlift. I apologize.
That was always a gift of mine, was the deadlift. That was about the biggest thing that I had for the longest time. I didn't have to work at that, but we didn't deadlift, But the bench was always a weak one, and the squat, all those, like the bands and chains and stuff like that, helped my squat progress at a level. It never was at a world level, but I can, if I played my cards right, I can play second against the number one guy who was like 300 pounds more than me on the total, which was Warman. I always had to compete against him. So, and to me, he was one of the better ones, and who was the guy that I always idolized when I first came into it was not Palucci, but I kind of mimicked my squat after him. Passanella. I just idolized that guy way he squatted, and Chuck squatted like him as well. And so I kind of that was my idol. Then after he passed away, it kind of became, Warman. I just liked being on the same platform, competing with him, Of course, he was squatting 900 and I was on the same category as on the bench, but his deadlift was 8 something and, mine's like the low 7s, but it was enjoyable. But, one thing like what Kenny was mentioning now, the career definitely has definitely dictated what your future, within the sport itself. But I've came back multiple times and attempted even though I don't have the same outlook as what these fellas have as far as like fitness, I still think even though I perform powerlifting movements, twice a week and try to do something else like bodybuilding wise midweek, I think it really just continues to help because I tried the other avenue. I tried just doing, the fitness type stuff, and with the current injuries or wherever, maybe it's just the way your mechanics of your body is set. It says, no, can't do this. You must do this, but just do it under control. So I've really enjoyed myself over all the years, and, especially with some of the people that I've trained with and been around and through the years, it's taught me a lot to where I've been able to help others. You'd ask Chuck that same question. I agree with what he was saying, but I understood after I left the sport and came back, there were things that I was not linking together, and like you said, pushing through the bench, using your lats, squeezing your glutes. These are all the things that I thought that I was doing because of bare, just raw strength and size, but you weren't doing it. Because once you really recognize that when you do perform that, the lift's totally different. It's absolutely totally different mechanical wise. And I've always thought myself as a very technical, technique oriented type person, probably more technical than I probably should have been. But it was able to help me, continue, I think, with this sport and also help any others in the future. So I've had, but yeah, definitely the, having, it's only a certain period of time, I think, that I don't want to say I never lost interest in it because I still continue to keep doing it, and still continue to keep loving performing the powerlifting, I guess, activities or movements and whatnot. But I don't think that I could ever walk away.
No, we got a good balance now. I mean, I've been training with Todd for 30 fucking years. I mean, we still train now. So we've tried a lot of different shit. I've done some stupid shit now granted 5 years ago, we probably would have said we had the right balance too. But, I think now we actually got one that we're not going to like completely destroy ourselves, but still get out of it what we really want out of it. And the time that you're talking about when I first called you was when I was trying to do that Crawford stuff with Wendler, and Louie wouldn't let us do it in the gym. I mean, the bench shirt carryovers were just getting out of hand. I mean, and I wanted it. I'm like, I don't want to leave with a freaking 605 pound bench. Like, you guys have seen how I'm way stronger than that 40 pound carryover or whatever the hell it was. Yeah. And, but it's like, Louie, don't do this. So it's like, I call him, like, can you come out and spot? We're gonna have gym. It's, made one run and tried to bench 700, which I kind of did, but didn't. But, it's where I don't know if you know this, but Louie was against this the whole time. Like, don't do this. It ain't gonna work. And my raw bench did go down. Oh, definitely. It went down a fuck ton. It went down. But at the meet, he's sitting, and I'm still training at Westside on the other days. He's sitting right in the front row, and I opened at 620, and it didn't touch, come up easy. And he's like, I told you, this shit ain't gonna work. I told you. So then I went to 700, it didn't touch, it come right back up, and I told you. I'm like, motherfucking old man. I touch on third, press it up, right? And then this arm gets caught underneath the lip, and I pressed it out of the lip. Granted, it's not a lift. I get it, it's not a lift, right? But in my mind, yes, it was. And Louie afterwards, I told you that shit ain't gonna work. I'm like, oh man, did you not? What I did is harder. It's not easier. It's actually harder. But that kind of started the benching out there, and at that I knew I was done. With that meet, I knew I was done. At that point, I couldn't even get under a squat bar anymore. So I was like, this is my last push to see if I can actually get a carryover out of a bench shirt, and then after that, I'm going to be done. And then the gym moved around. Then we went out where I'm getting into. When I went out on Main Line, where the John Deere dealership or whatever it was, you were coming out. Yep. You were coming out, and God, who else was it? Was it Big Mike coming out?
I don't remember.
There was
Teddy and
Molly. Ted was there. Molly was there.
It was before that. Because I remember us having a discussion, right? And we're like, do we want to bring? It was like, should we bring other people out to train? And I remember us saying, well, what are the rules going to be? And I don't know who said it, but somebody said, well, let's talk about what they're not going to be. Right. And then somebody said, you don't have to be here exactly at, 8:30. It can be whatever it was ish, like 10:30-ish or whatever it was. And so we were looking back at, what Louie's rules were. And it's like, okay, what are the ones we're not going to have?
Right.
You don't have to train a certain way.
Yeah.
And, so that's when that.
I think it was JL.
There's somebody on free. There's a couple of people on free because there wasn't very many of us. I know Jim was one of them, but there was definitely us three because I do remember it was kind of like this Westside conversation. Like, okay, listen, if we're going to do this, because somebody's going to have to always be there. Yeah. One of us would have to always be there because it was somebody's got to open it. Yeah. You don't want to leave people stranded. And it's like, okay, how's this going to work? Sure. Well, it's only going to be on the weekends. That was the first thing because we ain't doing this shit during the week and coming out and then had to figure that's where we had to figure the training out a little bit different. Mm-hmm. Like, how can we structure the training so the heavy stuff is on Saturday and Sunday, and during the week you didn't have to do anything if you didn't want to. Right. That was a little bit of a challenge, right? Because how do you recover from that? Sure. And it took a little bit of time, but it started a little different training process where.
So answer your own question though. Like, how did you do with the identity thing when you were done? Like,
I didn't. I didn't do very well at all. Yeah. No, because it's all I've done since I was 12. You know what I'm saying? So you guys started at a young age too, right? But for me, it was the one thing that gave me purpose. You know what I'm saying? Because I was the bullied kid, the beat up, the special ed kid, all this other stuff. And it's like, this thing is what made me. Right. And that's what was in my head. So then when that starts getting pulled away, like, well, who is me? You don't fucking know. Am I an entrepreneur? Like, what the fuck? What am I? Right. And that was hard. I mean, for a while it was hard, but I couldn't go. But shoulder was a blessing and a curse, right? Because had my shoulder if I could still squat and not be replaced, I'd probably still be doing it. Right. Well, my hips took me out, but that forced me to have to sit there and say, okay, this is a reason. Is it the only reason? No, but it's a big reason. I mean, could I force it and just squat like shit and just
if you do that, don't you feel like it's like the NFL quarterback that hangs on too long, right? Like at some point in time, you should just be able to walk away and be happy with what you did. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's an interesting concept to me because I don't know. Like I always feel like you don't have anything left to prove unless you're proving something to yourself. And like I look at somebody like you and you look around, like you don't have shit to prove to nobody athletically, right? You went from, I remember you sold the first tapes that I made with my own camcorder for Louie, selling them out of your garage.
Yeah. Oh no, the reason I do the shit that I do now, I love to strain. I mean, he'll tell you, I fucking love to strain on a squat. I don't know. It's just something in me. I don't know. I'll do that for the rest of my fucking life. I just got to figure out how to do it and not destroy myself, which we're working on. And it's getting a little bit better. And it's not, I mean, I'm not blasting shit. I'm not doing things, what I'm saying? It's all within certain constraints and
partial
all this.
Yes.
And I'm not blasting shit and all this other kind of crap. It's just not necessary, for that. But for me, it was just, like you said, just trying to find that purpose, where, like, who the fuck am I? But at the same time, I knew, because you're old enough at that point, you're mature enough to be able to know, okay, look, you can't, what are you going to prove? Yeah. And then the other part, and I struggled with this one a little bit, is had I stayed, at Westside and just kept training there, in my head, I couldn't do it, but I also felt like it was the wrong thing to do too. Mm-hmm. Right. I didn't want to do it because I didn't want to be the example of what they could be. Right. Like, oh, look, here's the guy that can't fucking hold a bar. Right. They already have one of those in there walking around as Louie, but that's different.
He owns it.
Well, he owns it, and he went through a lot more shit than I went through. So I didn't want to be that. But at the same time, there's a lot that we all learned that can be passed on, to them that are going through there, and so that was that constant battle of, well, I could still do that, but if I still did that, then again, I wouldn't be getting to work to the business I own until 11:30. Right. Which is fucked up. Right. You know, it's kind of why the business didn't go anywhere for 10 years. You know, how do you grow a business when you're only there half the time? You know, you're not there.
It takes twice as long to grow the business.
Especially at a time that's, you know, phones were being used. Yeah. Like orders are being called in and there's nobody to answer the phone. Right. And there's like 3 a day. You know, so if 2 of them came before noon, I'm fucked. I only got 1 a day. You know, with that. So that's why I ask about that, because I struggled with it for a while. But at the same time, I knew I couldn't go back. And if I did, in full transparency, I wasn't that good to begin with. Yeah. So like, what am I going to do? Go back to suck worse? You know, you get what I'm saying? I mean, I was a top 10, top 15 lifter, like right in that category. What am I going to do? Go back to be a top 40?
Right.
Fuck that. You know, it's not like I'm going to go back to be Tom Brady, and, you know, fucking break a world record.
Yeah. Well, you know, I think the reason why you bring that up, and we're all looking at the exact same reasoning, but that's the fundamentals that Louie instilled into the gym. If you can't commit, then you got to go.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Then we took that upon ourselves. We know there was a point in time in our lives, all of our careers, it's like we know we can't commit anymore.
Right.
We have to separate ourselves. And we had a discussion with Lou, you know, I can't do this anymore. My career's, it's going to take up much more of my time.
Sure.
You know. Then when I did have the opportunity to come back, I asked him about it, and he says, "Oh no, please, I need you to help. You know, do this."
Well, I think the other thing with Louie specifically, and the only thing that, and I'm not gonna say he didn't understand that, but Louie's life was the gym
right.
in Westside Barbell.
Right.
So he had to be 100% committed at all the times, which any one of us would have been if that was our career too.
Sure.
So when we left to pursue other careers, sometimes it wasn't quite understood. Like, you know, whether you were quitting on the gym or, you know, whatever the case may be. But, I mean, I can't even imagine. I mean, I've been on the road 125 days this year. So how am I going to make it to a workout at 8 o'clock in the morning on a Wednesday morning?
Sure.
I'm not going to do it. So, but I will say this, and I tell people this all the time. All of what we went through and learned in that gym is what I think the same people at this table are so successful.
Sure.
I believe so.
I absolutely believe it. I think just, you know, perseverance, hard work, teamwork, dedication, you know, pushing through things like Chuck said, you know, when shit gets hard, you figured out how to push through it. I mean, there's been days, I'm sure, in Dave's business, you feel like, why am I doing this? You know, maybe I'm not going
all the time
at the trajectory I want, or I can't even imagine what Joe goes through on a daily basis.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, is it worth it? You know what I mean? But then you continue to push through it. And I think that's why certain people will excel in everything else they do in life, and certain people just won't, because they don't take from what we went through. For me personally, I came in 88 and I left in 03. So for those 15 years for me, what you learned, you just applied somewhere else. It was the same thing. You're chasing something different now. Mm-hmm. And to me, that's the most valuable thing I think I would take away from this place.
I think another one was we didn't have options. You know what I'm saying? So what I'm trying to say is in Columbus now there's 25 powerlifting gyms, sure. Right? So if there was somebody in the gym we didn't like or didn't get along with, we didn't have the option to say, fuck you, I'm going to go here. Right? Or if Louie, you know, the good and bad, Louie's on your ass and pissing you off, you know, as he would, you know, on purpose and sometimes not on purpose, but you learn to deal with it. You learned how to get along with other people, even with the ones that you didn't like, but actually find a way to try to still help them, you know, to be able to get better, you know, and that's a huge thing, you know, that I think everybody can learn from.
Sure.
You know, so we learn, you know, sometimes you got to work with people you don't like, you know, and had to, you know, or what you get, just quit.
Right.
You know, I mean, there was no other option.
Right.
You know, where I think
that's a good point.
I think that's where, you know, Westside lost some of its culture over the years. I should reframe that because I wasn't there, so I can't say that. So when people can just leave,
right, you
know, and say, fuck this, I don't want to deal with this. It's the smallest thing, you know, there they go. And then they don't learn. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. You know, where you had to. I mean, there were people in there that drove me fucking crazy sometimes, just for little things too. Right. You know, I remember the one time that you would remember this. It was Good Morning or whatever it was, and You know, people would cheat like a motherfucker. Like there's good mornings and there's good mornings that are just cheating good mornings, right? And it's a max effort day and we're working up, and these lifters in the gym that squatted 300 pounds less than me would kick. I was not good at max effort stuff. You know that, right? That's half of what
good mornings.
Yes. I mean, it's half of what you've busted my walls about was on that day, because I was not strong. I was fast. I wasn't strong. I was fat. I said something. I'm like, somebody ought to kill this motherfucker. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yep.
Yeah, and the one dude followed the other dude home, and it was going to.
I remember that.
Yeah, it was going to. Came back in the next day and said, told Lou, I was going to kill him. I swear to God, he said I was going to kill him, but I couldn't do it because the blood would have got all over the walls. Then I don't know how to clean it off. You were there. Yep. I don't know how. This is a brag. I don't know how to clean it off the walls, and we're all sitting there like, the fuck is.
Took it literal.
Like, what is going on? And he's like, then I didn't know I was going to get rid of the body. I couldn't do it like I did my dog. And we're like, your dog. So Louie come in, and I'm like, man, you need to have a talk. We like offloaded it. Like, man, you need to have a talk with so-and-so because, and he's like, what the hell did you do? And I'm like, look, you know what I'm saying? You're pissed off. Like, somebody, I'll kill this motherfucker. And the dude took it literally. So Louie's answer was he bought him a bag of vitamins.
Okay.
Which was funnier than shit, but that's one of those stories that will go down in, infamy, but it actually happened. This is the crazy ass part about this, is it actually happened. Where at the time, we're like, what the hell? But then you think about it, you're like, whoa, like this dude actually was probably more unstable than what he should have been.
Easy, Roger.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's also the same people who have nothing else.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of what I go back to. If you have nothing else in your life to focus on, and I mean, don't get me wrong, I think all of us at one point was as committed to this as anybody.
Oh, 100%.
But that balance just shifts as you get farther into life.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, look at any athlete who walks off the field. I'll use football because football season's coming, and then they walk away at the right time. They become a broadcaster. Like, they're still involved with the sport. They're still maintaining, but you can't be the star forever.
Mm-hmm.
And like the only problem I ever had, there was like because I was training out at your place, and I was trying to get ready for the last WPO meet.
Mm-hmm.
And like I would come in and like have a great workout, 405, 500 would feel great, and then the next week I couldn't take 2 1/4 out of the bar, out of the rack. Like my shoulders were just destroyed. And I finally said, I'm done. And I went to the WPO meet that year at the Arnold, and I had a bunch of people ask me like why I wasn't competing, and I'm like, it was that I'm telling everybody I'm done now, right? And that was the only time, because like you were still training for that meet, and now you're not there. But then that was kind of the beginning of the end.
Yeah.
But once I got through that one, I was perfectly fine.
I think another benefit for me was with the sport, and more so when I came to Westside, it just compounded. Was you use the words all in. I was 100%
Sure.
in. With powerlifting, like 100% in. Where that's first. Everything else is a far distant, second, third, fourth, fifth. And so when I look at, say, projects and things now, and I think to myself, is this something that I really want to do? And is it something, I don't want to be all in on anything ever, because I know what it is. You know what I'm saying? And I think we all kind of know exactly what that is and what that means. And the negatives, because there's pros associated with it. There's a fuck ton of negatives associated with it too. Yeah. Where that's a fascinating conversation with me with the people that have been at that level, because I said something the other day to Todd about, people that are trained, that, right now, the way that I train, for what I do, it's like 20% on that all-in scale of what it used to be. All right. But if there's other people that are competing and then they're telling me that they're all in, but my 20% is more than what they're doing. Granted, somebody's all in is going to be defined by what they think their all in is, because it's the most they've ever been all in. But you sit there and you're like, oh, like, no, man. Yeah. I know people that did some crazy shit, but not crazy to them, not at the time. Yeah. But looking back, there's a lot of crazy shit.
I think everyone was all in to a large degree, because there's a lot of people that gave up a lot of stuff to do what we did. Mm-hmm. But I will disagree with you. I think you are all in.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, most
on certain things.
So,
yeah. Mm-hmm. But you've just picked something different to be all in on.
Yeah, I don't know to the same level though.
You give me the percentage. I'll name one thing and you give me the percentage if you're all in or not.
Oh, I know where this is going.
No, this is an honest question. Your family. Your family.
Yeah, I got it. Yeah, I got it. Yeah.
Big difference. Mm-hmm. Big difference.
No, but I didn't know. Point taken. You know, it is because it shifts. You know, it shifts over to that.
Yeah.
Because they're not top. You know, when back then they weren't.
Yep.
You know, and I'm asked, you know, what are your biggest regrets? What's the way I treated my wife during the time
Absolutely.
I was still competing? 100%.
Yeah, it didn't matter who it was. Everyone around you. I mean, even you know, if you had other friends outside of the gym, everyone else suffered.
They sacrificed. We didn't.
Yeah, we didn't.
We did what we love. You know, that's what always cracks me up when people say, I sacrificed this. Like,
no,
did you really?
No, you didn't.
You're doing what you love to do. Like, all the people around you,
yep,
you know, are the ones that are sacrificing.
No, I totally agree. I just think the all-in shifts to different things.
Yeah.
But you still have to have something that you're all in and you believe wholeheartedly in.
Mm-hmm.
So we just picked different things.
What were some of the things that you took from your time there that you were able to apply with what career-wise?
Just a commitment. You know what I mean? Because if we go back to the all-in, it's been, you know, my career has been pretty important for the whole time. I mean, I was true to Westside. Never went anywhere else. I've been with my department the whole time. Never even thought of, you know, venturing elsewhere. So just, you know, just holding true.
So when he retired, he had a little notebook. He was writing, okay, this guy, when he gets out on the street, when I see him on my drip, you know, when I get this guy, he see him on my street.
No. No, but everything is, I mean, I still work out really hard now. I mean, I have just in obviously a different way. You know what I mean? And I do other things and always 100%. Mm-hmm. But, you know, before I went to Westside, I was a crazy kid who was 13 years old like you. Mm-hmm. And I laid in bed every night. It's squatting. And that lasted until I left.
Mm-hmm. Wait, when was your last competition?
2001.
Oh, one. Okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, I had it bad. You know what I mean? Had it bad for many years.
So it changed your life too?
Oh.
Powerlifting.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I remember because I worked second shift and Joe did too. I think when you were still me and Joe used to talk on the phone all the time about like what we were going to do in the next cycle and like it would consider, even though I was working, I was fortunate I had a job that had some flexibility and so did Joe. But we would talk on the phone on a regular basis about if we change this, if we change that, like it was all consuming.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Writing out your percentages.
Yep.
I had them all written out. What we're going to do, when we're going to do it, and you know, we got to do it this way.
Didn't really follow it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it sounded good.
And that was another thing, like some people give some guys, you know, well, he went off his own way. Well, Blue gave us a system. I mean, if you were there 10 years and you didn't learn that you were a little bit different, I mean, what are you truly learning?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And like I never really had much of me and Lou, I mean, probably, never had any disputes. Even when I left, you know what I mean? Shook my hand. I get it. I understand. You know what I mean? And I always felt as though, you know, I didn't keep in contact with him, but I mean, not a better person ever to me. From the time I was a kid, I mean, think about it, he drove me across halfway across the country to go to meet my mom's car. You know what I mean? And to you know, if I ever need anything, that guy was always true to me. I mean, I don't have a single thing, and I lived by his word for who knows how long. Let me tell you, this is what you need.
Yeah.
I mean, I was like, that's what I need.
That's what I need right there.
That's all I'd hear.
Yeah.
You don't need to stretch.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen a lion stretch before he attacks? It makes sense.
I've never seen a lion attack.
I mean,
it made sense to me.
It made sense at the time.
It definitely
like,
made sense.
What the hell is he talking about? But yeah, you're right. I'm all into it.
every week it was like, this is what you need. And that was always the ongoing joke.
But you needed something different the next week.
It's
always different.
Never
the
the
next
same. That's what you need. That was always, I remember saying that joke for years.
I wouldn't even begin to imagine how, because his mind was so just constant. And I don't know if that's good or bad. It was just different, like every week.
For us, it was good.
Yeah,
you
it's
know,
true.
It took some of that off of us.
Sure.
You know, we didn't have to think about it. Now we still did.
Yeah.
But we were thinking about how we could execute what we were going to do.
Yeah.
He was trying to figure out how he can get, you know, change.
Well, and I was going to say something about what Joe said about like Lou gave us the foundation, right? Whatever this plan is. I don't know. There's names for it now. People put a name on it and they sell it online or whatever. But I think the best thing that ever happened, and I always felt this way. I think Louie taught you how to train yourself, how to see or see other. He didn't have to train everybody because we trained each other.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, so once you figured out where you needed, your weakness was, or where you needed more work, and so to Joe's point, and I got, self-proclaimed, I got thrown out, right? So I didn't walk away. I got thrown out. But the reason I got thrown out was because of what we talked about earlier. I wanted to pursue something different, and it was literally just squat and deadlift, right? I never changed my bench stuff because it worked for me, like from the time I was like 7 months old or whatever it was until I quit. So I started training up in Cleveland with those guys, and I remember him.
Kenny, you were still coming in and run the monolith though.
Yeah. I was every Friday, and I would even go to Cleveland on Saturday morning, and I would come back Saturday night. And it was literally a 12-hour day. I would leave at 7, and I would get home at 7. So it was a 12-hour day every Saturday driving to Minner, Ohio. But I remember him saying, and I understand why he said it, but he said, "No one leaves here and gets stronger." And I was bound and determined that was not going to happen to me. And I actually made my best total once I left. So that's when I totaled 22:21.
But at that competition was at the WPO or in Columbus, right?
No.
You squatted 860. And
Yeah,
you ended up benching
865.
you're benching 740 or 750.
No, it wasn't that. I never benched that much.
730.
My best bench in a full meet was 716.
Okay, whatever your bench was, he was behind. Chuck was behind going into the
it's still
deadlift.
to this day one of the most impressive things I've ever seen in my life.
And he goes out there and busts his strap on sumo, then duct tapes it, comes back out, then goes conventional.
He pulled 816 to beat me. That was the one chance I thought I had.
Yeah.
Like I was literally going to beat. I think he had like a pec tear or some kind of little injury in the bench, so his bench was down. So that was the only way I was going to beat him.
Yeah, you were 40 pounds or something like that on him, and he had.
I was probably up even more than that because my deadlift is shit. So,
Like I said, he hates to lose more than he likes to win.
Yeah, you're 100% right, because I was standing there watching it, and he started pulling that, and he started that bounce.
Yeah.
And I thought to myself, holy shit, he's going to pull that. And he did. And still he had never pulled 800, he pulled 816. And he pulled that one out of somewhere. I have no idea where he pulled it out of, but one of the most impressive things.
Definitely.
I was okay losing to that. Like, I'm like, he deserves to win.
Yeah.
But that was probably one of the best things I ever seen. Or probably I seen it from the back, unfortunately. Seen it from second place is what I saw it from. I was like, son of a man. I thought that was because you don't get up. Not a lot of people get to say they beat Chuck.
Yeah.
Right? And the fact that I wasn't there anymore, right? So that was, and I never had animosity towards anybody. I didn't, that wasn't me. Like, I used other things to motivate me. But that was the one chance I thought I had, and it didn't pan out.
And I was handling him in that meet, so it was one of those things that, it's like, oh shit, and of course I'm up his ass.
Oh, of course. I know you were.
Fucking Kenny, you understand where the subtotal is right now, that kind of shit. You got to watch it, you get him, I was saying earlier, you get him too hot.
Yep.
It's going to be a mess.
Oh yeah.
After he left Westside and started to use gear more, I think he started to figure out where that balance was, and was able to find it, obviously, because the lifts went I think, up.
And I don't think Chuck did this on purpose, obviously, but I think everybody else loved to see him go through all that because of all the hype and the, like he said, I don't think he knows he was doing it really.
No, I don't.
Yeah, because he was so whacked out in his mind. I don't say that, he was so focused. But the crowds loved it. Like, there was nothing better than, I'm over here cheering for him. I don't give a shit. I like everyone. And when they call the bar, load the weight, Chuck Vogelpohl, and the whole, it was like at a wedding, like in unison. They just go, whoo, and everyone starts, that's cool as shit.
I remember flying back from Japan. I just got back on a Saturday or Sunday. It was at Dave's, one of Dave's last meets. And Dave used to put on some of the nicest meets. And Chuck opened up on a squat, missed. Second attempt, missed. Then we're like, oh, good Lord, and I'm watching this, and I go back there and say something to him, and he comes out, grand. He just went up, put a grand on, killed it.
Yeah.
That was the same meet. He totaled two cars. You remember that you were still there, because I went on a cruise for whatever fucking reason, right? Actually, before I went, Chuck totaled a car, and the police officer brought him in to squat. And we're all like,
oh, this is preparation.
Yeah. So, I mean, the cops roll up. So Chuck gets out. We're all kind of like, well, what the hell? What's going on? Like, and then I go on this cruise and I come back and Louie says to me, hey, did you hear Chuck rolled his car? I'm like, yeah, dude, I've only been gone a week. I was in his, no, the rental car. I'm like, the fuck are you talking about? The rental car. So basically 2 car accidents before that meet. He come limping into the meet, and can barely fucking walk because of other issues that were going on at the time. And it's like, I remember saying, are you sure you want to fight? It's Chuck.
I mean, temp number 1, temp number 2, you're thinking, there's no damn way. He didn't come up with it.
In his mind, he said, I still got one left.
Yeah.
I'm the head judge.
He puts $1,000 on, then he's walking out like Frankenstein and he's shaking.
That's how it got passed.
No, I was, head judge, right? I'm the head judge, right? Because that was one thing I did with my meets, that if it was anybody that I knew, or if it was anybody that trained with somebody, get out of the side seat, go to the front, have somebody else go in. Plus, it's just, I had to give John Bott one time a red light, and he was pissed. But you don't want to give your friends a fucking red light, and I'm like, I don't ever want to do that again. So after that, I'm like, I'm never sitting on the side with anybody that I know. Mm-hmm. But as the head judge, I got a different perception than the people that are helping Chuck and all that at the time. Sure. Because I see him come out and just get smashed on the first one. Mm. And then, whatever it was, 800 and 9, and then he jumps to 9. And I'm like, I can't leave. I'm a head judge. I'm like, fuck, like yelling like, Louie, like, what the fuck? All Louie, the classic Louie words, you tell him. Like anything that had to do with Chuck, it was always, you tell him. 3 words. You tell him. I'm like, what the he's like, you tell him. And then he missed the second one. It's like $1,000. I'm like, Louie, you tell him. I'm like, I'm the head judge. I can't tell him. But he did.
Yeah, I'll tell him. Let's go, Chuck.
Yeah.
Let's do this.
You got this. Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah, he was notorious for, at least when I was helping him during those times, it's like, can you just fucking make an opener?
To make this a whole lot easier.
It'd be a lot easier if you'd make the opener.
Less pressure.
Yeah, a lot of times I'd like miss the first one, miss the second one, pull the third one out of his ass, and it wasn't repeating the first one.
No, it was always
going up. It just kept going up, and it's like, oh, come on, man. And then after a while, you're like, it doesn't matter. Yeah. It's just how he does it.
Yeah.
It's just going to go through.
As long as he gets one, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, you're so fucking exhausted after that whole thing.
That's awesome.
But the intensity level, like you said, everybody gets into that. And
that's like, the way I look at it, like if you could multiply it like you would like a football stadium or something, like if somehow you could compare, because it would get loud with, what's in there, like 1,000 maybe people in the WPO meets, whatever, in the auditorium, because it was a good sized crowd, but it would get loud, and then people rush up and they're down taking pictures, and everyone, I'm like, it's pretty impressive.
Remember that prison meet we went and helped at?
Yes.
Right. There's the stories I'm not going to tell about that, but so after they all get done deadlift or whatever was deadlift, and Chuck get up in his jeans and pulled whatever was their last deadlift, whatever it was, just cold, and it's like, what the fuck? That was a weird ass.
That was weird.
That was a crazy.
And Louie was playing basketball with him.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Yes. And I only remember fragments of that thing, but it was a whole day.
Yeah.
And I'm like, we were in a prison yard.
I remember walking through the prison. Guys like, what are you doing? I'm like, well, we're going back here. You're in a prison. And I'm like, oh, I'm a kid.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that was terrible.
Yeah. Don't worry. We have one CO with us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
We've got one. Don't worry. He had like a stick or something. We're cool.
Mm-hmm.
I remember that guy, that big bencher. He had all them gold teeth. I don't know. He had a name too. I can't remember.
Well, I'm sure he has a name. They all have a name.
Oh, he had a name.
I mean, we all had names, right?
Yeah. Yeah. That was an interesting day right there.
That was very.
How do we even do that? Does anyone remember that?
What, the nicknames?
No.
I have no idea how this whole thing happened. I don't know.
Had to be the Chuck.
Yeah, it had to be. There was something. I don't remember.
Because he would have been working there by then. Yeah.
Oh, was it at his prison?
No. No, it was up London. Was it London?
Was it London we went to?
I don't know.
It was a terrible place.
I did that in Mansfield.
Honestly, I thought it was Orient.
No, it definitely wasn't Orient. 100% wasn't Orient. No.
I know they was yelling at us when we went by, and Louie was yelling back at him.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, there was some fucked up meets we went. Thank God, and when everybody got good enough to not have to go to those meets anymore, like the Trailer Park Nationals.
Oh, that was out. Yeah. Well, that was out east of Columbus.
Yeah.
Wasn't it like, where was that at? like Cambridge or somewhere like that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and you went through like a trailer park to get yeah.
And that was like all the time.
All the time.
It was a bench meet.
Well, you had Circleville, Zanesville, Canton.
Canton Open. That was a good meet though back in the day.
Toledo.
Canton Open, yeah. Oh, remember? I know you guys went to it. Remember doing the one on the east side of Columbus, the Police Athletic League?
Oh yeah, I did.
Right there on the east side. That was always a.
I was 14.
Yeah, that was a.
Isn't that where we found George?
Might have been. Yeah, it was. Might have been.
Yeah.
I tore my pec at one of those. It was like,
your
come
pack
on.
at all of them.
No, I mean, for real. That was like where I tore it for real with that surgery one. And that was because Louie, you got to bench 5 here. And I'm like, I just jumped into it. That's a crazy story because Dimmel took me there. So I knew Matt really better than I knew Louie when I came in. And he's like, yeah, we're going to go do this POW. Yep. Columbus Police whatever it was, bench me. I'm like, I'll get the 500. He literally went through fields all the way there. Not on the road, through the fields. And of course, I'm sitting there like, this is not normal.
Are we going to make it?
Yeah. Then in the warm-up room, it's the warm-up room. It is what it is. It's eyedroppers of shit. I don't even know what it is. I'm just fucking taking it. Whatever it is, I'm taking it. And then, the pet goes off and we're driving back and Matt's like, here, take this. I'm like, go down, take it. Then Melina, swear to God, 5 minutes later, you didn't just take that, did you? Yeah. Oh, you shouldn't have took that. You shouldn't have took that. Here, take this. Well, what the fuck is this? Well, this is to combat what you just took. So then I take that. Then Matt's like, hey, buddy, here, take this. This is what you should have taken the first time. Swear to God. So I go from Matt's house, I leave and I go to Grant, because something's wrong. Yep. Like my pec is all under my nipple. Right. And Louie's like, oh, you just pulled a muscle. I'm like, dude, it's all right off. He's like, well, it's not bruising. I'm like, it's all, this is not right. They wouldn't admit me because they said, well, what have you, what medications are you on? And I'm like,
I have no idea.
Where do you want to start?
Dave wrote down 2 of these and one of them.
Yeah.
One's oval and got a couple
so you go home and you come back, you come back.
Go clean yourself out.
So that was one of those, but George was not that wasn't that one because this was really before.
Okay.
But George was raw benching something stupid.
Yeah, he benched. I thought he benched 500 that meeting. We went up and talked to him and
or close to it. Yeah, he was strong.
And he said he was doing like 10s with 405, and we're like, what? Yeah, that's what I do. I do 10s.
Yeah,
he was
super,
on everything.
He was super strong right away. And Arnold Coleman.
Arnold
Coleman was strong.
Unreal.
Mm-hmm.
Like he was. I remember. He was 190 pounds.
He was crazy.
He was strong.
He still looks good now.
Yeah. And how old is he?
I don't know.
He's a little older than we are.
Yeah.
Yeah, he looks. I've seen him on a couple of posts from here and there, but looks good.
One of the funny things that I still look back on that cracks me up is because you guys are not associated with the industry at all, right? You just powerlifting, competing, whatever it is. And Louie would have these coaches come in, right? And one time he had one that comes in that was world renowned, whatever. Nobody fucking knows, like I do, but nobody else knows. Louie don't even know, right? And you weren't in there, but I don't even know if you were there at the time, but you were relentless on this fucking dude because he just sat. It was the Demorest is, and it's not that far away from the bench to the
like 6 feet
wherever the glute ham raise. It wasn't a glute ham raise, whatever was there, like the cab machine or whatever it was. Yeah. He just sat there. So we start warming up doing reverse me. I don't know what it was. Every set, Kenny's like tapping the dude on like, hey, you're up. You can take that. Oh, you're just gonna wait until we go 135. I get it. Some people just wait till 135. Every fucking set. You probably don't even remember. I remember it. Yep. You remember this? Yep. And all the way up to like, oh, okay, dude, you're just gonna start with 315. Hey, we don't do that shit here. That you do that, you get hurt, but hey, man, if that's what you want to do, it's what you want to do. And then after, obviously, you're the last one to finish. Mm-hmm. Oh, I get it. You're waiting to beat me. Here you go. It's just relentless as hell. Relentless as hell. And the funny thing, later, a year and a half, whatever, later, the guy writes about his trip to Westside and how it was nothing.
Nothing like the real.
He didn't say a word the whole time. Mm-hmm. Nothing. Yeah. He didn't even go to lunch after, and then just nothing. And the one time, remember when Mel Siff would come out? That was a funny one because he came out one time and he had this suitcase, had peas in it, right? There was something like canned vegetables were in this thing, and he would come in and he was so confused because he studied Russian weightlifters, and they respect the bar. You know, you never step over a bar, you walk around a bar, and we're just throwing shit. You know how we are. You just like, you know, just he was having an anxiety attack, so he was hiding behind the belt squat, eating these fucking peas, you know, and shit like that. And afterwards, listening to him talk to Louie, you know, at lunch was funnier than hell. Like, how are these guys like how you're? And Louie's like, listen, you know, Louie, he's trying to explain it in however way he's trying to explain it. And I'm just dying because it was so, this guy was freaking the fuck out about it. It was crazy as hell.
That was something that actually did eventually, in my opinion, got a little bit irritating because the place was so small. Mm-hmm. And I understand why people wanted to come. I understand why Louie wanted them to come or, you know, allowed them in. But after a while, it just was so confined. You know, if someone brought 3 people, the place was bumper to bumper.
Yeah.
You couldn't even move. And there's nowhere. It's almost like you need a place this size with like a little bleacher for them to watch.
Yeah,
train with us. Don't just stand there and like take notes.
Yeah, and your defense of that story, that was not, like you said, that was not the first time.
Oh, no.
I mean, it was a lot to where, you know, we were all super nice with everybody. Yep. You know, then after a while, it's like.
Then the worst one was,
you know, it got
Arnold Classic weekend.
Yes.
There would be 20 extra people in there, and you're like, it only fits 14.
Yeah.
Like, we're already if the fire inspector comes, we're going to jail. Mm-hmm. Like, it was so packed. Mm-hmm. But, I mean, I understand it. It was just, I don't know.
I get where you're coming from because, I mean, we were telling Louie, you know, look, you know, this is fucking annoying.
Right.
You know, then Louie start blaming it on me.
Yeah.
You know, oh, no, Dave's coach is coming out. I'm like, no, this ain't me. You know, I'm not bringing these fucking people out. You know, but some of them would come out and train though.
Yeah. Those were okay.
But that was rare.
Yeah.
You know, most of them come out and wouldn't even train. And Louie would be like, you know, afterwards, like, I don't understand these coaches. You know, they don't even fucking train. And so, of course, we're all like, fuck all these coaches. They don't even train. You know, so that didn't help either.
No, but I understand, like, the logic for them to be there to learn or whatever. We just didn't have the space for it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And if you're not, you know, I mean, I can understand why they don't get into a squat set with Chuck. I mean, you don't have to be a genius to figure that out. But, I mean, at least participate until you fall out. Like, understand how we do the movement or why we do the movement or whatever the case may be.
But that's what built it up for him. He probably didn't know he was building it up. You know what I mean? The West Side. But all those people coming in, he was trying to help them, genuinely help them.
Yeah.
But all that was doing was growing it.
I don't think any of us knew. I really don't.
No.
You know, because it's.
He didn't know either.
No.
He was just trying to be helpful.
No, because I remember when I started selling the VHS tapes for him, I never watched them. You know what I'm saying? And I'm watching them. The first ones was like Todd was in it, and I think you were in it, and Chuck. Is that right?
We all had mullets. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and it's like, I didn't know they ever. I mean, it was at the bingo hall.
Yep.
You know,
that's where we made the first one.
Yeah, and I'm like, but people were buying the shit out of it, and that's when I started thinking, oh, wait a minute. You know, people kind of know, like, more than we just think that they just. You know, we're known in Columbus. I knew right away after coming here, and when I started to just find any job, because I'm working for Audia temporary service, and I'm like, well, I'll go to. When I started going to try to bounce, I learned really quick, you know, that Westside's kind of known, at least then was known in Columbus. I'm like, well, maybe bouncing isn't exactly what I should be doing.
Sure,
you know, from all this, but I had no idea, you know, the reach, you know, after that until. And I don't think you guys had any idea.
No concept.
You know, but I do remember when he would make those other videos, you know, it's the big ass camera. Like he'd bring in that big ass camera. Then he'd film a bench session or squat session or whatever it was. I had to go home, then I'd watch it. And there had to be no profanity, right? Because the editors went, there were so many times that he filmed it. I'm like, Lou, we can't use this. We can't use this. And I remember the one that he did do, I had to tape things all over, like don't curse and all this, and we get almost all the way through it. Like somebody, motherfuckers, we'd start working up at the end and be like, son of a bitch. You know? But then it's like, okay, we can just trim that. Right. We can cut that out. You know, that was good. But there was one time that we fucked up, I fucked up, or it would be whoever's supposed to hit record did it backwards. Oh. You know, so it didn't record anything that was supposed to record, but recorded everything you weren't supposed to. Like just all the camera was doing was pointing out the door, right? That was it. But listening to this fucking thing was unbelievable, you know, because it was after training when you're just sitting around fucking around. Oh my God. Oh my God.
It is kind of interesting to think about, and I know people have said it before, what come from those 800 square feet and how it had global reach. Like, it's cool to be a part of it.
Yeah.
That's to me, that's a cool concept, just to be, you had a hand in it, but you were actually just to belong to it and be a part of it was pretty special.
What I've been trying to figure out with, podcast list year, because some of the other guys are coming out that I didn't know. They're different. Like what continued?
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? Like what culture wise continued, what training wise, what continued, what changed, what didn't change, because the lifters got better. The more world records, bigger lifts. So obviously he learned, from our mistakes, his mistakes, then applied those and trying to figure out culturally, what stayed, what didn't stay.
Yeah.
It's a little disconnected,
Sure.
But a lot of that, the camaraderie, for certain groups stayed, but I don't think it was the same, is what we had.
Right.
I
think it would be hard to replicate what we had. I think it was, because that was a long period of time in the same group of people.
Yeah.
Like you don't get that commitment from people today.
No, that's the thing. It was, like I said, there was a lot of times to where it was just 4.
Yeah.
It was like, what the hell? Then there'd be another 15.
Yep.
And then right back to 4, and then, come back up. But even the ones that could come in and stick, for that time, it wasn't just for like a year.
Sure.
They were staying for a while.
Sure.
With the whole thing, which is, I don't know if it ever be duplicated again. Because like I said, there's too many choices. There's all the other kind of stuff. Because the one skill that Louie had that I think goes unnoticed is he had an ability to make everybody be better no matter who they were. He found whatever you needed to either piss you off or to motivate you to be the best that you could be. And for some of us, it was just finding a way to piss them off. For other ones, it was finding a way to just build them up, whatever it was. And you got to think about it. You got an 800 square foot or whatever it was, 600 square foot gym.
It was 20 by 40.
Yeah. And you're going to take what was known at the time as the best lifters in the world, pop them in a gym in a highly anabolic environment, high testosterone environment, and make them get along. Not only that, but make them help each other get better. That's a skill. That's a huge fucking skill.
Yeah, I can't remember there's a quote that says something about that. And that's like a skill of a leader, not the skill of a boss. Is to be able to morph people into a team. Because I still, to this day, and I've said this many times, powerlifting is a one-man sport, right? When you're on the platform. But I think it's the epitome of a team sport because it takes more than just you to get you to that point. And I think one of the things we all had to learn was the role that you played at any given time. On deadlift day, I played the role of weight changer. Like that's what I played. That was my job, like you're first because you're going to be out after like 5:05 and then you change weights for people. And then the next day, if it was a bench day, then you got to play, your role at the top with the other top guys. And I think everyone understood that and everyone took their role and they used it and they got better because you're always chasing the guy above you. Right. And everyone's pushing you to chase that guy and that guy's trying to run away from it. But it took every single person. But you think about it, when we went to meets, now if you include the evening guys that train, we would walk into meets with 20 and 25 people. Like that's the epitome of a team. Even though we all weren't training together, you were still collectively a team. And Lou, to your point about using the skill to drive you, I personally was, I'm gonna call it a victim, that's not the right word, but he would make shit up and tell me what George was doing at night.
Oh, yeah.
And then he would do I'm sure he did the same thing to George, and tell him that I'm doing something and probably didn't do any of it. But he's just using that for constant, motivation or whatever the case may be, to get you to go to the next level. But I still think that's a huge part of why we were successful is the entire team concept and camaraderie to be able to train together. You had an obligation and accountability to show up on by 8:30 or whatever the time was back then. I don't remember what time it was, and you got shit if you were late.
Yeah.
And remember, they wouldn't take the bar back down for you.
No. Mm-mm.
If you were late, you got in wherever the bar was. You're like, it'd be a quick day.
Rob jumps in at 4:55 or whatever it was. How many sets you guys done so far? Okay.
Yeah, it's just
I caught up. Let's go.
No, he did. He come into one day, and it was the 405 for 8 sets of 2, whatever it was. He just did 16 and left.
Yep.
I'm like, well, I guess that's fucking one way to do it.
I'll see you guys Sunday.
Yeah.
Well, he was a lot like Joe, where he would do the one main thing, and then where'd he go?
Yep.
Like, he's done. And, it worked. We should have learned from that, though, too.
Yep.
Because we'd stay there and do tons and tons of shit that we probably didn't need to do.
Yeah. He was freakishly strong and gifted.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he was. That's what I said. I think we've had a lot of people that were really, really good at, one or two things and, maybe mediocre at something else. Mm-hmm. But he was like significantly good at all three.
Mm-hmm. He told elite in his first meeting, what lift was first. Remember that?
That's great. Yeah.
He actually asked how they do the rules meeting? He fucking asked what lift is. He's like, he's never been so embarrassed in my life. Who's going to ask that? But he asked that. And it's like, there goes and tells his elite. It's like, geez.
Yep. And that was probably after maybe 8 weeks of training with us or something.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how long he was there before he did his first meet. But he was strong when he came through the door, but he got top level strong quick.
Yeah. In my weight class.
In your weight class.
Another fucking bust in the head. You're busting your balls to get better. Then boom, like, whoa, fuck, Then Stafford, boom, like, son of a bitch, this sucks.
Yep.
And you're just doing all you can do. The other thing, though, with what you're saying is with the group aspect is I learned the best squat cues from him and Chuck. Mm-hmm. Those two, because we're always watching that. Yes, we're fucking with people, giving them shit, but if something's off, it'd be, listen, do this.
Mm-hmm.
It was always the bench from you. It's like, look, man, your wrist is fucked, do this. We are always helping each other with those little things, and those little things make a big difference.
Well, that's kind of what I meant about, like, everyone was a coach.
Yes.
Once you figured it out, you had to learn it yourself. Mm-hmm. And you learned what to watch for, or you could see what someone was actually doing wrong better than you could see it on yourself, obviously. Mm-hmm. But you didn't have Louie as a coach. You had 5 or 6 other people coaching that would, and if you kind of polled them at the same time, they probably all saw the same thing. That's how in tune people were.
But they'd have different ways to say it.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Where
totally.
Maybe you were trying to tell me, but he would tell me one way.
Sure.
Like, here's what you do with your belt, your app, whatever it was. And I was like, oh shit, that was way easier. Yeah. It's like, how did I not know that in the last 8 years? It's like a hack. It's like, wait a minute. Like, how did I not know this? Like,
you figured it out in year 10.
Yes, yeah. And I mean, the bencher became a whole nother animal, because that was a whole fucking different.
That's great, isn't it? Like, you guys won't believe what I just figured out, and you're like,
yeah, I know. It's like, I'm on my last leg, and I just realized now you're supposed to squeeze the bar.
So if I push on my belt, this actually gets easier?
Yeah, exactly. It's the benchers, like I said, changed over time, where I remember trying to put you in a poly.
Oh, that was terrible.
No, that was not good.
I remember I was dying in those things.
Oh, my
terrible. God. He was claustrophobic.
I was claustrophobic as shit.
I just remember we were stuck.
Yeah, I could not breathe. Because I used to love having Bob Coe help me, because he was big and tall. And we had to do like a whole countdown and a breath, and like you had a split second to get that thing over my head, or else. I mean, I didn't have a neck, I didn't have nothing, like it was just like a big pumpkin sitting on my shoulders.
You think?
And as long as he could get my head through it, where I could actually like suck air, I was cool. But it was just
Take it off.
I'm probably taking more off than I put on. And then when they finally got that whole open back shirt, I was like, okay, this is the ticket. Like, it wasn't about the shirt being better for me. It was about, I don't have to like worry about my head going through this thing.
That was kind of crazy if you think, because I remember when Vanessa's shirt blew out at that one meet, and she benched a big PR.
Yep.
And we're like, oh my God, she did that, and her shirt was, I mean, to us, it was like more impressive because she did it and her shirt was blown out.
Yep.
And then you find out later, shit.
Put you in a way better groove.
It makes you way better.
Yeah, you're not fighting the shirt.
So who was the guy what was the guy that worked on all Chuck's cars? Sonny? Wasn't Sonny the first one who messed with that, and he benched something stupid?
He might have been the first one in Westside. But if I recall, this might be given credit again. I think, didn't Jesse Kellum? We were somewhere, and there was a guy that had a shirt cut open in the back, and like he was struggling in the warm up room with like I'm gonna call it like 365 or something, and it was hard 405 maybe whatever roll, and goes out and benches like over 600 pounds. Yeah. And I don't remember who it was, but it's like, how did that just happen? Like, then you started seeing people get some decent carryovers from. I never got those huge carryovers.
Well, it's because I think what I figured out was like my last meet, 198. I tried like 635, but I couldn't get a touch chest. It went up like burp. Well, now you just keep going up, right? You just keep going up. It's going to go up if you can touch your chest. Yeah. So I was like, oh, that was a ticket. Because I remember I went from like 585, I did 633, and they were like, burp.
What was your best bench roll?
530.
530.
190. That was my
and your best bench with a shirt?
On file, I think 565 with multiple 600s.
Huge carryover.
Yeah, I mean, like my best was like 540 and like 605.
It's crazy.
I just couldn't fucking figure it out. It wasn't for a lack. We could have used it more, but again, it wasn't for a lack of trying. I mean, you go in there and it'd be like, this sucks. I mean, it's hard to figure out when to put it in. Yep. Because it was so wrecking on your system. Yep. You know, to even put it on, and then trying to get the damn thing to come down. Was a bitch too.
Or know that it's not, that it's going to not last. Right. The neck's going to blow out, the shoulder's going to blow out. I can't even remember
how many, we went through, I had to go through 100 of them.
But, yeah, just.
But even when the back got open on the shirt, I feel like the blowouts went down also. Because it wasn't putting stress on the shirt and like wrong seams or whatever, And that's when I feel like, because I even got to the point where I had multiple shirts. I had a shirt for an opener, a second attempt, a third attempt, and then maybe a fourth if things go really well. Because you started dialing them in. But that's like what Chuck was saying. If you would have known that way before.
Well, you guys started young enough too that did you have your squat suits blow out in the ass?
I was always the poly-ins, or I don't think I ever had a squat suit.
I had one or two blowout.
Yeah, because I remember that coming up. You're worried about because that sucked too.
The strap, I remember the strap blowing.
And that was even before, because even squat briefs weren't a big thing way back when. That wasn't a big.
I didn't even know there was fucking double ply until I came to Westside. I swear to God. Like Louie was like, "What is this shit?" And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" It's like you can get double ply. I'm like, "What the hell? Like what?" No, you just call friends.
That's all my best lifts were done in double ply.
Yeah.
I never.
Yeah, I had no idea. I had no clue because it wasn't advertised.
Right.
You call them like, oh shit, this is legal? Like, hell yeah. I'm like, well, yeah, give me. I want that shit. Then you realize, well, that ain't as easy as just putting it on either.
Yeah.
The double ply bench shirt before it was denim was not even worth it.
Yeah.
It was not worth it. I'd just rather just do it raw. Then the bench shirts that were not cut in the back, those suck too.
Those were terrible. I actually was watching a video of when I benched 712 in Texas. That was in a closed back shirt, and it was like, I look back at it and you're like, God, that form was terrible. Because it would like kind of handcuff you. Like, I don't know how I even made it to be honest.
Yeah, you always dropped it.
Yeah, and then you kind of had to like pull it back and then put it into the groove. You're just like, ugh. Now that when they cut it open, everything just kind of like, it was made to be there. But that's when everything, I think, less injuries, at least for me.
Yeah, I think that's where we fell a little bit behind the curve, right?
For sure.
Because for a long time you could train with. I think it actually was beneficial to not train with it. Because you build that raw strength up, then you put it on. Oh, you're not getting much. Out of the wraps in a squat suit, maybe 80 pounds, 100 maybe. But then the shit got way better. We didn't change, what we were doing.
That's actually funny you mentioned that, because one of the things that I felt like I got really good at, because I didn't squat super wide like you guys did, but learning how to use knee wraps as a rebound. So when I was training in Cleveland, because we put them on all the time, and I would actually start wrapping my knees, even though it wasn't super tight, at like 405 to get used to learn how to use them as a rebound, because I did squat. I don't want to call it narrow, but I didn't squat like, I didn't have long legs either.
Yeah.
It's all relative, I guess. The equipment was a huge thing though. I think that's why I'm not involved anymore, but that's why like the sport to me today is it's not what we did as powerlifting.
It's different.
It's just totally different. And it's fine.
Yeah.
But that's why I don't think you can compare a today number versus a 2000 number.
Yeah.
Man, I was only out of the sport 5 years, and You know, at the best time, my best, I think I was 8 in the nation in my weight class. And when I came back, that number dropped down to like
30,
40 something, you know. And it was like, you know, all the squats were in the high 9s and the benches were close to the 7s. And the deadlift always stayed in the low 7s, mid 7s, that type of thing. But yeah, that total went way down. And of course, at that point in time, the bench shirts changed.
Sure.
You got the canvas suits, you know. Of course, there was still nothing for the deadlifts.
Yeah.
Other than just
because that's more of a raw strength lift.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I would have even liked what they do today, to be honest with you.
But still, I give them credit because one day, a couple months ago, I went back to that Westside and looking at the board and the numbers. Mm-hmm. Someone still had to get underneath.
Yeah, that's a good point.
No, they did. No, 100%.
So I'm telling you right now, I mean, those 181, like Coker or whatever, all his numbers. I'm like, I don't care what anyone says.
Very
any squat suit, whatever. That dude got under those weights, under that bench.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's true.
I mean, how headstrong do you have to be to bench whatever 900,000? If that thing goes, oops, you're done.
Yeah, I think you got to do it to respect it, you know, in that regard.
I respect every number on that board. Those guys
your spine and your joints are still holding that weight.
Those guys are out of their mind when I look at those numbers.
Definitely.
Crazy stuff. I give them all the respect in the world.
One of the frustrating things for me being part of the industry back then, you know, because I started building the business towards my back end, you know, I had it, but it was just a seminar, just a stupid little shit like that, but towards the back end. And I mean, I don't even want to say the internet wasn't the internet, but it wasn't, you know. So when it started to come on, you know, the shit about, you know, Westside and Westside training and it only works for gear, you know, back then it's like, we don't wear it. Right. You know, it was so frustrating to me because it's like, you know, dude, you don't understand. We're wearing groove briefs that are like single ply pieces of shit.
No knee wraps.
And I wish we did. You know what I'm saying? Like, I wish we did. We're putting the shit on. Like, all this is raw training. Like, we're not using wraps.
Right.
Our wrist wraps were cut knee wraps.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know, your old shitty knee wraps, and that's what that was. I didn't have a bag. I tied my knee wraps around my belt, and my elbow sleeves were on there. That was my bag.
You used to get shit for wearing those elbow sleeves.
Yeah, I did.
Because nobody else wore them.
Yep. All kinds of shit for elbow sleeves that did nothing.
Yep.
You know, and they probably didn't help me either, you know, but anyhow, but that was so fucking frustrating because, oh no, this shit don't work. This shit don't work. It can't work for raw and all that. I'm like, what the hell are you talking about?
Everyone was raw.
We all were. I'm like, you're missing the whole concept here.
Yeah.
You know, fucking Kenny was board pressing 987 or whatever the hell it was. You know, it's ridiculous. You know, you and Rob, those days frustrated the shit out of me too, by the way. You know, because you work up and your last man, it's got to suck for you because you got to follow yourself after a while. Yeah. But we'd all be out. You and fucking Rob still be going up like 5-6 jumps. Like, what?
I was super grateful that Rob came in because, to your point, he would run with you.
Yep.
You know, so you actually had someone that was within 100 pounds.
Oh yeah, I mean, you were 2 plates ahead.
Oh yeah,
you know, easily.
Every bit of it.
Yeah, easily. And that overhead shit, you were way more than that ahead.
Yeah.
You know, I'm like struggling to do 185. But hopefully, I can do 2 1/4. You got like 10 fucking plates aside or whatever it was.
Yeah, I had a couple of things that I was strong at.
And then with him, it was the box squat drove me. Fucking that high box squat pissed me off like you can't believe, Joe. You have no idea.
Well, I just keep it back straight.
Straight as an arrow, too.
Straight, perfect, up and down. Mm-hmm. And that was that's just the way it happened.
Yeah. Because you carried the bar kind of high on your neck, too.
But I couldn't bend over. I couldn't do a good morning with 185.
I know. It's like I'm hoping for the good morning day.
Dave's like, let's do good morning.
Good mornings. No. Like, good mornings, you know?
No. But I put that back on there and keep my back straight. As long as my back didn't crack, I could do anything.
The other thing people don't believe when I'll say it is, like with the max effort exercise, like they program it all out and stuff. I'm like, man, we didn't know what we were going to do until we got in there.
I get that question quite a bit. Like, you know, how did you guys rotate? I'm like,
what are you talking about?
What are you talking about? Like, no disrespect, but I don't know how to answer that question. Yeah. Like, we did, you know, it depend on the max effort day. If you came in, it was, you know, Monday, typically Chuck or somebody like that got to pick what you were doing. Yeah. Like, I didn't come in on deadlift day and say, this is what we're doing. Like, shut up. You're out of here, you know? Come back tomorrow. Come back on Wednesday. But there was no rhyme or reason as to, and then I think there was also, they thought everyone would always do the same thing. And for the most part it was, but there was
people would kind of separate and do some different things. So
especially after the first movement, 100%.
Yeah, you would start focusing more on what you needed versus. Yeah, I get that question quite a bit actually. Like, how did you guys, what was your circuits like or your rotations? I'm like, you found out at 8:30 that morning what your rotation was.
If that, I mean, it's because the story I'll tell is I'd come in and say you're in there and be like, hey, what are you guys doing today? I don't know. What do you want to fucking do? I don't know. What do you want? I mean, this went on.
Yeah.
Until somebody finally came in and they'd say, I want to do this. And we'd say, okay, we're doing the opposite. Yeah. Or somebody would come in and say, I don't give a fuck what we do.
Let's just do it.
Just let's not do this. Well, you dumbass, that's what we're doing.
That's what we're going to do.
Every single time.
Good mornings.
I hated them.
We're going to do good mornings.
Those were so fucking worthless for me. The hanging good mornings, I hated those.
Oh, the hanging ones in the chains?
Yeah. My best was 455 when I squatted 820. My best when I squatted 930 or whatever it was. 450. It went fucking nowhere. Nowhere. And I'm trying to tell Louie, obviously this doesn't work for me.
Right.
He's like, it's a tester. I'm like, what the fuck do you mean it's a tester? The hell was that? Yeah, he said, well, if you can't do 455, then your strength's off.
Yeah.
I'm like, well,
no, come on.
That's kind of like reverse psychology.
Yeah, and I'm trying to cheat like the motherfucker. Like, can I swing that shit and catch it right? Somehow I'm going to have to get more than 455. Then Louie to get in there and just, granted, he's not bending over.
Yeah, he's already in a...
Yeah, it's one of those things too.
Right?
You too. You get under there fucking squat it up. Not one of those things.
It is what it is.
That's why I like the deadlift when it went for you. So you kill it on the good morning, come the deadlift, it's like,
got him. You got me quick too. I was out early. I actually can pull, because I've been pulling a little bit more lately. I actually can pull better, elevated.
When standing on a box?
Me standing on a box.
I always could.
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't know, I feel better. Like I get a better contraction and out of the body.
Yeah, for me, I could use my quads more, which to Louie, that was my problem when I came in. Your quads are too big, your quads are too big, your quads are too big. So anytime we pulled on a deficit, I could squat it up.
Right.
I like that. You put me flat on the floor, put me on a pin one, I'm fucked.
Yeah.
There ain't shit happening there. I pulled 50 pounds, 60 pounds less on pin one than I could off the floor.
Then you got Chuck who come in and pulled 1,200 pounds out of the pin. He was always strong with that stuff. Yeah, I think he must have like rebar in his back or something.
Actually, he has rebar in his back.
He does
now.
He
does now, yeah.
He does now.
Courtesy of the doctor, right? Yeah. That's awesome. So let me ask you this. Of all the years in powerlifting, what's probably the most impressive thing you've ever seen?
To me, it still falls back on Goggins squatting 1,100 pounds.
I just watched that the other day. I was talking about that last night.
And it wasn't just that lift. It was how it happened, because it was in the WPO and everybody was standing on fucking chairs. Yeah. It was to me, like the epitome of anything I would ever want to have happen if I was lifting.
Sure.
It's anytime anybody's standing up, it's a big deal. They weren't standing up for my shit, right? Maybe for your bench, but they weren't standing up for my shit. But when you get everybody and the place is packed, and it was a packed ass room, and he barely made that motherfucker. I mean, it kept moving. Yep. In real life, it seemed like it took a half an hour to come up.
I think he actually just posted that the other day because I came across it and I saw that and I watched it about 9 times. And that's probably one of the most impressive things. And while it's not the highest lift, when Chuck pulled 816,
that was a big one too. But see, I was not there. I can't see it. I'm helping him. I'm behind it.
Yeah, just like watching it happen and knowing he's never pulled 800. It's like I don't know. It was pretty impressive.
What was his best part of that?
I want to say it was high, very very high sevens.
760.
No, it was above that. I think.
Was it?
Yeah, maybe like a 788 or something like that. But it was big. But he pulled a huge PR to win. I was like,
it's not like
what year was that?
Not ever tried.
Had to be like 2001 or 2.
Because I remember when he was 242, he had to pull 820, 830 to beat that Curtis Leslie in Chicago. Remember he got it almost all the way up?
We were 220s at the time, though. When he beat me, we were 220s.
Yeah.
So his best pull at 220 wasn't
because he had never.
Okay. I'm thinking what? Yeah. So he was 242
when he beat Leslie.
Way back in the day.
Yes, that was back in the earlier or like mid to 96, 97, 98.
That was a crazy lift.
Yeah.
That was a huge PR. Whatever, 830, 840. Yeah. That was a good one.
What world record do you remember the most of your
First
own?
one.
Yeah.
By far.
How so? I mean, like, what was going through your head after you did it?
I don't know. That's a good question. Mm-hmm. I just remember. Yeah, I just remember Louie jumping over the bench and on top of me. But and Joe was there, Esco was there, Bob Coe was there. I can't remember who. There was a couple other people, and we had went to Texas for that Inzer sponsored Greatest Bench in America. George was there, but George kind of got shafted because he didn't get to compete in our flight because I think his previous lift maybe wasn't as high or something, so he was in the crowd. But that bench was like Goggins' squat. It took forever. Like it never came backwards. It just constantly motored. And then finally, when it was locked out, I actually felt like, okay, I can't push it any far. Hopefully, they put it back in the rack. And when they took it, it was just like that was because everyone there was typical powerlifting meets. They always talk about what they're going to do the night before. And so everyone's talking about their crazy numbers. And if I do this, I'm going to hit this. I didn't really say nothing because at the time, I never benched 700. So I didn't really have a lot to talk about. And then I ended up winning the whole thing. And so for me, that was kind of, I guess, it put you on the map, so to speak, right? It made you relevant. And then it wasn't that much longer as when I benched 728 in Chicago at the Navy Pier.
It took off. I mean, you went on a roll. You know, like I was telling you earlier, I remember Louie coming in because those are all meets that were just bench meets that not everybody was going to. And it was like every time it's like, holy shit, you know, what is going on? It's just.
But then I got you're right. It just went like this, and then it went like this, and then Joe's like, you need a new challenge. Yeah. And the funny thing was, I didn't really change anything, like other than not force feeding myself. And I think I dropped 20 pounds like almost instantly. And I broke the world record in the 42s the first time I competed at 42. And then my body weight just kind of started naturally, and I eased into where I was about 235 ish, and then I started making 220s. And then I ended up benching 716 at 220 in a full meet. That was, but I think the first one's always.
Yeah. The lift I remember the most is when I squatted 930 and Todd was behind me. Because I remember when I took it out, I didn't shake. Yeah, he didn't. Right. And all I remember him saying is something like, oh my God. You know, it was something like that. Like he was startled that I wasn't shaking. And then I just.
So you didn't know if it was good or bad, right?
Yeah. Then I thought it was good because when he took it out, there wasn't that jackhammer.
No, because it was.
Those weights
it was bad.
Because his opener and his second was, you know, and when he just took that last one out and it was just like, I'm like, oh Lord, yeah. I mean, you know, and it was, I could see a huge difference. And he just like, when he hits that stroke correctly, it's his stroke becomes shorter when he hits it just right. So
I mean, it came up in like half a second, and it's like, oh my God, I'm going to squat. I can squat 1,000 pounds. You know, it's never happened. But what's the lift that you remember the most?
Probably my 181 512. Probably I think the first time I benched 500, I was like 20 or 21. It was like a junior world record. That was probably. The big deal was making weight. I weighed 201 24 hours before.
Jesus Christ.
And I weighed 181. Oh, that was bad.
Yeah, that doesn't sound good.
My squat went horrible. My bench went good. But that's probably when I first deadlifted 700 because I never thought I'd do that. That was a big deal.
What about yourself?
Now I'm going to go the opposite direction. Is when I had to hit the 500 mark, you know, and we went to Circleville. And again, one of those closed back shirts, and we didn't get it all the way down, and we got it choked me, and I took that down, and all of a sudden I'm like, just collapsed. And he took it off of me, and I think somebody come over and like pick me up. I said, did I get it? And you're like, fuck, no, you didn't get it.
You got it already.
You collapsed. I'm like, okay, let's try this again. So
that's your biggest memory?
Oh, hell yeah. I think that's a good one. So, I mean,
did you get it?
Yeah. But I came back and ended up getting it that day. Just we got the shirt. And that was the thing about the shirts, you know, the closed back shirts. Yeah. It's you think you had it on until you sat down on the bench, and then it could be off to the left or off to the right, and that's when it blew here, blew there, or we didn't get it set just right.
It didn't take nothing to blow one of those shirts out.
Oh, man.
It was I mean, you would blow 2-3 of them out at a meet if you had them. Mm-hmm. I mean, how many meets did you have to like drop out of? Because people had one, they blow it out, and you're done.
Yeah.
So
I think that's all I had was just one shirt, praying to God that it made it. You know.
Didn't you used to sew them? Didn't you used to
I
made
one for Kenny.
I remember.
Kenny had a bulletproof one that he.
Yeah.
You went through a couple. You had some big numbers with that before you grew out of it.
Yep. Yeah, that was when I was a little bit lighter.
Would you do it again?
Oh, absolutely.
Why?
All the memories, all the friendship. I mean, just like you, I haven't seen you, I haven't seen Chuck, and I mean, it's like you never missed a beat. I mean, I've not seen Chuck in, I don't even know, 20 years.
Yeah.
See him walking in here today. He's all taped up like he was the last time I saw him.
But it was wrist straps back in, or
Yeah, it was wrist straps. Now it's duct
double
tape.
belt.
Yeah.
Right, and I went right over to him like nothing, just busting on him. You know what I mean? He laughed, I laughed. It was like, I mean, the memories, the friendship. I mean, me and Kenny last night were talking about how long?
36 years.
36 years.
Yeah.
I mean, and still talk once a month at least. You know what I mean? And never miss a beat. I mean, no, I wouldn't change anything ever. Nope.
What about yourself?
Yeah, I do it all. As a matter of fact, I just ordered a squat suit off your website, to be honest.
I don't sell squat suits anymore.
It's in my cart. If you could put a discount on it, I'd appreciate that. No, I do it all. I agree 100% with everything Joe said. I think you can't. I would do it again if we was told we could replicate it. The unfortunate thing is you would never be able to replicate what we did.
Yeah.
Even if you brought, if you could turn to me, I just feel like what we were able to be a part of was special. And I think it formed, at least for me, it formed you as a person and how you moved on through the rest of your life. And to Joe's point, I mean, we text more than we do anything, right? Because we live in Arizona.
He's too busy.
Yeah. Yeah. You're always on Instagram. But yeah, it's the friendships and the camaraderie that we had. It's, we've came across hundreds and hundreds of people in this sport, right? But there's still that nucleus of people. There's a reason us 5 are sitting here. That's the way I look at it, right? Like, so to me, it was the fundamentals. I mean, the only person we're missing, unfortunately, is Louie. But that was the fundamental of the core nucleus of what we learned and grew from, And I remember, because obviously I was fortunate, because when I joined the gym, it was commercial. And one of the other things, I have a 1B for the lift I remember. But because I always looked up to Chuck, because Chuck, when I came in, I was a kid, like Joe was. We're 14 years old, like you bench like 130. Like you couldn't even put plates on the bar yet, right? Like, and I remember the first day I outbenched Chuck, because I think at the time maybe his best bench was like 446, and I benched 450. Like, so to me, that was like you kind of had arrived a little. Like, I've earned my keep and get some respect now. So, but I don't think I would have no problems going through the whole thing over again and redoing, because to your point, like a lot of people sacrificed, but I think way more positive came out of it than any level of negative. So I would do it 100% over and over.
Yeah, definitely myself as well. But the only thing that if I was able to go back, and I wouldn't want to change anything other than I want to have more fun. I mean, we had great fun just poking on everybody all the time, and that was just a blast, But I'm talking about knowing that this sport you can't live off of. You're not going to live off of. Back in our time, there was no internet. There was very crappy ass cameras. There was no camera phones, and so everything has to base off memory. And when we sit around this table, we're bringing up stuff that, oh my shit, I haven't even thought about that in 20 years, Yeah. But it's like when you walk in the gym, you put 100% into it. Then when you walk out, you leave it.
Right.
And then have fun in your life. Then when you come back to the gym, you're going to put more into it. When you went home and just dwelled on it, I think to me, it just seemed like it ate you up inside, because I know when I came back, I was stronger when I came back at a lighter body weight.
Yeah.
Everything, I beat all my other numbers when I came back at a lighter body weight, like 25 pounds lighter. But I just took it as a different approach. I'm serious when I'm in here and I'm doing what I need to do and accomplish my lifts. But when I walked out, I'm done. I'm having fun with what I'm pursuing next, So that would be the only thing that I would encourage people, that have fun while you're doing this and enjoy the journey, because to me, it's a journey. Not everybody can be a part of what we experienced. I don't think that I could duplicate that ever in life on any other atmosphere.
No.
It's just, we were all brothers, and we had sisters, Amy.
Yeah.
And it was just an experience in itself, that I could always cherish myself, I think. So, but having more fun with what you're doing, I think you tend not to put that pressure on yourself. I've got to achieve this. I got to achieve this, just knowing that you can achieve those things, just go ahead and put the effort towards it.
What about you, Dave?
Yeah, 100%. 100 is if it could be the same. You know what I'm saying? It's because it was a different time. Yep. I wouldn't want to do it now.
No.
Like with cell phones and all the other kind of shit. I wouldn't want that. We didn't have that.
We're fortunate we didn't.
We had beepers and phones and shit like that. I mean, we still would have had fun regardless of how we did or whatever it was. To Todd's point, Louie told me many times, don't make this your whole life. And I think he told it to everybody, but it didn't matter. We're young. It is what it is. So but like you said, under the same circumstances, because there's a bond that's in there that's not being distracted. Where. Yes, it was frustrating as hell, but if it's not frustrating, then how do you know it's not frustrating? If you're not angry, how do you know if you're happy? You know what I'm saying? Like the highs are going to be higher if the lows are lower, and that's one thing that was, it kind of balanced out, where if there were options, to where, that one meet in Chicago, it did not go well. It did not go well for me fucking at all, right? And then, the mocking and all that other that was part of that. Then that next morning, I don't get up in time. Everybody leaves. I'm like, fuck, everybody just left me because I bombed out. There's a lot of misunderstandings, you know what I'm saying? But there's a lot of misperceptions that are going on.
A lot of stuff went on with Dave.
Yeah. I was like, this is fucked up. Yeah. I'm like, fuck, I got to figure it. And I would have left. Had there been an option, I probably would have left, but I couldn't.
Right.
And I'm glad that option didn't exist, right? Because if it didn't exist, I would have missed out on so much. Yeah. And that's what I kind of worry about with people trying to set up crews and stuff like that today is how much are they missing? Because they're not forced to actually have to deal, with that. It's so yes, 100% with that caveat. You know what I'm saying? You put that other thing in there, then no, I don't want to do it.
We didn't have feelings back then. There were no feelings.
You had to check them at the door.
Yeah, you definitely had to check them at the door.
Yeah, I know what you're saying, though, about like when you say options, you mean like going to another powerlifting gym. So kind of like what athletes leave to go, they team up at another team to become, what do they call them? The big three or whatever, right? Like, instead of persevering through and staying with the teammates you got and winning with what you have.
Yeah, and I'm sure for some people it's better to go someplace else. 100%. They're going to excel someplace else better. For me, no, it wasn't, because there was enough of the blended personalities and drive and, commonalities, and how we approached what we were doing.
Sure.
You can see it in people's eyes. Are they actually, we could see it when they would come in.
Yeah.
Right. Are they actually going to make it or not? You could tell. I could tell in 5 fucking minutes. They ain't gonna make it. We would tell each other, ain't gonna make it. Ain't gonna make it. Like, how did we know that?
Yeah.
I don't know.
And probably wasn't wrong very often.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I'm thinking I can't remember one that we said wasn't gonna make it that actually stayed. So
So whatever that was, 100% I would do that again. Because I don't even know what that is. Whatever it is I think everybody should experience that, with something.
Yeah.
And hopefully have that bond with their family or whatever, whatever else, someplace else too. But at least I learned it there. Before that, I never had that.
Right.
Not with football, any other sport, anywhere else. It was that. Like I said, I can't define it because I don't know what the fuck it is. I just know it was there. And without that, I don't know if I'd be the person I am. Good, bad, indifferent, whatever the fuck that even is. So, 100%.
That's a good way to look at it.
Yeah. I think that would be anything else?
No,
Yeah. I still haven't figured out how to close these fucking podcasts, so I'm just basically say we're done and then we're done.
Have a good day.
Be like Chuck, right?
Gotta go.
That's the best ever.
Yeah.
He thought he had to go to the restroom.
Oh, he probably.
That's right. Yeah.
He did. He just went home.
Yeah. Yeah.
He said, "I got to pee. I'm going to the house."
Well, we're gonna go eat anyhow. So, guys, we are out. Thank you, and we are done.
We know from the literature that as long as you're close to failure, you're going to make similar muscle gains. So, but there is some evidence indicating that there may be something to varying your rep ranges, and you varying your rep ranges is not going to cost you more time, allows for more flexibility, and being fixed to one rep range doesn't, like, it's not giving you anything more, you know?